Let's go.
They coming?
What, they feel too big?
Okay, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Temple City City Council for August 5th to order. Could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Sternquist?
Present?
Councilmember Vizcarra?
Here.
Councilmember Yu?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Chavez?
Here.
Mayor Bloom?
Here. This evening, we have, for our invocation, we have Lynn Best from the Presbyterian, Westminster Presbyterian Church on 9642 Live Oak Avenue. She's been ordained an elder in the church in 2001, and she is currently a deacon and is serving in that capacity through 2016. So could you please all rise?
Dear God, we who are here gathered, thank you for your many blessings, life, health, the ability to fulfill our callings, for purposeful work, collegial friendships, and the privilege of bearing our civic responsibilities. We thank you, too, for the freedom to gather together to express our unique ideas and creative ways of problem solving. Through our founding fathers, you have established governing bodies to promote peace, order, and justice. Therefore, we pray for the mayor, this city council, and the various levels of city governance, asking you to graciously grant them the ability to work together in harmony, even in the midst of disagreement, wisdom to govern amid conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of the people of Temple City. We pray for the agenda before us tonight. May all we do this night benefit those who live and work in and around our city. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Lynn. I'd like Helen Chen Marston, who's the liaison from the Realty Board, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. It's my great honor to lead the pledge. Please put your hands over your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will now move to item 5 on the agenda. We have two, these are presentations. We have two presentations. First one is the Pet of the Month. I'd like to call, let's see who's coming up here. I have here Diana Rios from the Humane Society.
You can all come up if you want.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you. We have brought with us Arthur tonight. Arthur travels with us quite a bit to different places. I made a list of things to say because there's so much to say about him, but I'm not going to take that long. He's very friendly with both people and other dogs. He enjoys to sit in your lap. He loves to cuddle and pet. He's very nurturing. He's the little dog that we use if we get other dogs in that are shy. We'll usually pair him up with Arthur because Arthur's very calming and he makes them very welcome. They get along real well. He gets along real well with all of the other mouse. He loves to chase and play toys. He picks up things quickly. He'll sit He knows how to sit, he knows how to shake hands, he knows how to give you a high five. And he's just a really sweet, sweet little dog. We've had him for quite a while, and he's very sociable.
How old is he?
Oh, he's a little bit, almost 2 years old. We got him when he was 8 months, I think, so we've had him a little while.
So if someone wishes to adopt him,
If someone wishes to adopt him, just come to our shelter.
okay, and the address is?
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you know the address, Dick? We are located on Grand in San Gabriel, just off of the San Gabriel Avenue, San Gabriel Boulevard, over by Mission. Say it again? I'm sorry? 850, in the 800 block of Grand.
Okay,
Right
okay.
across from the water, our
Okay.
district water power.
If anybody doesn't know where that is, you can call City Hall, and I'm sure we can refer you to the,
Sorry, I will
the
have it
main
on the
site.
tip of my tongue next time.
all right. Eh,
Yep, by San Gabriel Boulevard and Mission,
Okay,
or by there.
all right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the second presentation is obviously timely here. It's by the Upper San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District. They're talking about their drought activities in the Water Smart City program. We have Manuel Govea, Community and Government Affairs Representative here. Manuel, thank you.
Good evening. Unfortunately, I'm not quite as cute and fluffy as Arthur here, but I'm going to try to do my best. My name is Manuel Govea, and I am with the Upper San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District, here to talk about some of the more updated water conservation programs that we're currently implementing at the district. And among them, the newest and what we are seeing as the most important is what we are calling the San Gabriel Valley Water Smart City Challenge. Just to give you a brief little overview of the Upper District, we are a California special district that was formed in 1960. We have 144 square mile service area, thank you, which is divided into 5 separate divisions with 5 different elected officials representing each of those divisions. Temple City is actually rather unique in our service area in that you have 2 directors, and that division is split by Director Tony Fellow and Director Charles Trevino, who both apologize they couldn't be here this evening. Our population is approximately 900,000 people, and we are one of the 26 member agencies of the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. Water Smart City Challenge. This is a new program that we have never done before, and it was part of our 2014 Community Outreach Plan. It was approved by the board back in January, and it incorporates some of our existing conservation programs in a new creative format. It's eligible to all 18 of the cities that exist within our service area, and the overall arching goal is to engage cities to lead by example during California's drought and to be an active partner in promoting conservation to all of San Gabriel Valley's residents. The goals of this Water Smart City Challenge is to bring awareness of the drought to residents, promote water conservation as a, quote, way of life, which is the statewide campaign message that is going on right now through the Association of California Water Agencies. We are promoting the governor's call for a 20% water use reduction. We're promoting water rebates for businesses and residents through SoCalWatersmart.com. SoCalWatersmart.com is a program offered by the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, and there is a very wide array of different types of rebates that residences and businesses alike can be accessing, from wash machines to low or water efficient toilets to turf removal programs, landscape audits, you name it. And the last goal is to adopt city policies that will contribute to the overall sustainability of the San Gabriel River watershed. We sent out these marketing packets, which have been distributed to each of you back in June, and the end of this program will be in April 30th, 2015. The first 3 cities to complete the challenge will receive a $50,000 grant, which can be used towards a sustainable watershed project. Some examples of that would be a stormwater infrastructural project, recycled water project, or a water conservation outreach campaign that can be implemented throughout the city. In addition to that, we are going to give give these 3 cities a commemorative San Gabriel Valley Water Smart City Seal and a community event honoring the winning of this great prize. The challenge requirements. So in order to get this $50,000 grant, we are asking our cities to complete 8 out of the 12 program requirements that we have put together. The only one that is mandatory and must be fulfilled to achieve the status of the Water Smart City is the requirement number 12, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. I'll just briefly go over a few of these. Number 2, for example, host SoCalWatersmart.com, the rebate website that I just explained, and SaveOurWater.org, which is the state's water conservation messaging campaign, both on the city website. Another example would be to host a water efficient landscape class for residents. Upper District will provide the certified teacher to conduct the class. We will help with RSVPs. We will provide you the marketing flyers that you can promote throughout the city. We just ask that you host it at a city facility, invite the residents to attend. Another would be to, number 7, conduct a large landscape water audit at a city facility. Again, the Upper District will provide the auditor to come out and you pick the facility that you would like audited.
Is there a fee for that?
No, we will cover the cost of that.
How about residential landscape audit?
It's just for large landscapes,
Large,
public
okay.
agency, correct. Another example here is to create a 130-second PSA featuring residents, local business owners, or city elected officials highlighting conservation best practices. We will host that on every form of social media that we have, our Facebook, our YouTube. We will promote it throughout the other member agencies of Metropolitan and definitely get the word out as much as possible. Lastly, number 12, which I explained is the only mandatory requirement. This is to obtain the highest rebate dollars per capita by city residents and businesses through SoCalWatersmart.com. So we have the ability to track who is actually obtaining these rebates, what they're getting the rebates for, the amount of dollars that they've been given, and that is really the driving force that we're trying to get across. The Metropolitan Water District just doubled their conservation budget, and in turn, rebates have just dramatically increased. For example, turf removal has now gone up to $2 a square foot. And so we're really trying to promote this because this is just simply free money that's going to help everybody in the long run. And so that, for the most part, is the Water Smart City Challenge. We are very thankful that Temple City has already agreed to participate in this. And we thank you immensely, and we hope that you do a fantastic job throughout the process. I also gave you an outline of the new turf removal program, which I was just basically explaining has been doubled to $2 a square foot. It's a very simple project. A lot of people have been taking part in this. We're giving you $2 a square foot simply to remove your lawn and replace it with California drought-friendly plants.
I was curious, have you run into any conflicts with local jurisdictions where people put in the water-friendly stuff and the city gets upset? Because
Not as of yet, actually. The only point of contention that was occurring is with homeowners associations. And now a piece of legislation was just passed a month ago in that they no longer have the jurisdiction to say, no, you can't put in the California-friendly plants. And so that probably won't be an issue
Not an issue.
much anymore. But no, I have not heard from a city standpoint, no.
Okay, are there any other?
Quick question on
Yes,
your
sir.
last bullet point on number 12. You said the highest rebate. So what constitutes rebate besides turf removal?
Like I was saying, water efficient wash machines, toilets, sprinkler systems, sprinkler control
So
systems.
they use your suggested equipment and mail in something and get a rebate, and that would count as
There
a...
are hundreds of products listed that are certified to be water efficient by Metropolitan, and there's a whole list of them, and it can go back to 5 years for some of these products.
Wow.
So if you still have proof of your receipt and the product, you can still obtain a rebate.
Okay.
And most of these are $50 or more.
I have a question. Who is monitoring our program when working with you? Is that someone that's been assigned already?
Yeah, Giselle's coordinating it, but we're working with all the departments. We're working with Michael's department because there's some areas and some, like, water efficient landscapes and various things like that. But Giselle's coordinating it, but there'll be a number of people involved in their own particular area.
Okay. I recall, is there something that 2 council members have to do? Also,
We're asking 2 council members or city staff
Take
to
some
attend
classes.
the various different events and conferences and tours that we're hosting throughout the year. I'm pretty sure that Councilmember Yu has already attended one of our tours.
Yeah.
Yes, so that
So
already
that
counts as
counts?
one. So anything that has been done since the governor declared the emergency drought counts for the Water Smart City Challenge.
I'd nominate Councilmember Viscara too, on a Friday.
You're cruel.
No golf.
The best part too is that on our website now, under the Water Smart City page, we have an entire toolkit of materials and marketing efforts that you can just slap on the city logo and use here in the city.
Great, I'm excited, thank you.
Good. Happy to hear that.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having
Yeah,
me.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would like to comment, this, this water situation obviously is very serious here in the state, in Southern California. I mean, this is a desert area to start with, and when we go through these drought periods, it's going to be important that we relook at the paradigms on how we do stuff at this point, and that's not easy. If you think the P3 is complicated, this gets very complicated. There are a lot of different players. You're probably reading in the paper where different cities are doing something. City of Pasadena. The city of Pasadena has its own water district. City of Sierra Madre has its own water district. We do not have our own water district. We have 5 water districts here. So we're working with staff. We're going to be coming back with a presentation, our next council meeting, addressing the cities, how we're going to address this issue. Obviously, it's the ultimate user that has to do it. And so it's very, very complicated. And let me just comment on something you probably all read in the paper. The city of Toledo had to shut their water supply down because of the algae bloom that took place in Lake Erie. And everybody goes, oh my gosh, how'd that happen? If you read the stories behind that, they knew that was probably going to happen as long as 10 to 15 years ago. It's a shallow lake. They were getting a lot of agricultural fertilizer runoff into the lake. They were getting some of the treatment plants in the area. The level of treatment that was going in there was just feeding all kinds of nutrients into a very shallow lake. And it was just a matter of time until the right circumstances occurred. We're in that similar situation, not with an algae bloom, but we're really in that same situation here in California. And we really need to take this serious. I mean, we've added more population, we've added all kinds of things. And so it's going to take very serious stuff. The state obviously came down with some guidelines. You hear all the cities coming up with some guidelines. We're obviously trying to address it. There's been a lot of different things going on, people trying to address this. The bottom line is me and you and you and you and you. I mean, we have to start conserving water. And we're going to have to change how we do things. The state's currently talking about putting a major bond measure on the ballot in November. Very critical to starting to change the paradigm. So all of these things are coming into play. It's a very complex. I appreciate the upper district participating, and all the different players have to come together and start working together on this. So we'll be coming back next meeting addressing a number of issues. We've been talking about this, so we'll be there. So hang on. There'll be more discussion, and and we encourage people to discuss it, and let's talk about some of the issues, and they will affect us. Okay, with that finishes the presentations. We now move to item 6 on the agenda, which is public comments on items not listed on the agenda. So if anyone cares to speak, again, there's a 3-minute limit on this. So if anybody would care to speak at this time on items not on the agenda. Mr. Cleary?
Thank you, Mayor and residents. I've had several conversations with residents of this community, and we're a little perplexed about the city's firing of the city manager and the amount of public funds that have gone into replacing him, not only the $113,000 in salaries, not for him to work it here anymore, the not using of the assistant manager that we have and pay for, or several other things. By the way, Don has done a stellar job. I'm not complaining. I appreciate everything he's done, and thanks for coming up and picking the pieces up, sir. The other thing is Rosemead Boulevard, the fiasco there. I feel it was ill-managed from front to center to back to the end. It was overcompensated. There was people doing people's jobs that weren't doing work that were doing work. There was too many people, too many cooks in the kitchen. It wasn't managed well, and the city paid for a dear price for that. I don't feel that $4 million of any kind of fund, any kind of money to do something is worth chasing with $16 million to $18 million. All that money could have gone to several other things. I want the city council to understand that I appreciate every minute they put into for the city, but they have to understand that money's not easy to come by. And the city needs to be totally discombobulated, because after the city manager did his nonsense to it previously, it's not functioning correctly. And I think it really needs to be said that any more projects from here on out, unless Don's going to stay, we don't need to be talking about spending money anymore. And I want to thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cleary. Anyone else care to?
Mark Anklar, 9163 and a half Las Tunas Drive.
Mark, what was your last name, please?
Anklar.
Aguilar,
Yeah.
okay.
My dad was twice past president of Temple City Kiwanis.
Okay,
I just found out that state law has trumped city laws up and down the state to allow massage parlors. I was disturbed to see massage parlors opening up on Las Tunas Drive, and I would urge this council to do everything it can to petition our state legislators to reverse this trend. They're everywhere. It's disgusting. And I'm ashamed to see them in our city. I'm ashamed. And if you guys are sitting here and just could care less about this, I'm disgusted with you. And the responsibility falls on you. And I hope you guys will do everything you can to reverse this and petition our state legislators. I know you guys have contacts. Do something about this. It's disgusting. Thank you.
okay, thank you, Mr. Aguilar. Just for you, we have addressed this issue previously, and so we continue to monitor this and watch it, so. Okay.
That's what you politicians are good at.
Thank you, sir.
All you do.
Okay, anyone else care to speak at this time? Okay, if not, I will close public comments. We'll move to the consent calendar. Been asked by one of the speakers to talk about item 7D, so we'll pull item 7D, and I'll entertain a motion for the remainder of the consent calendar.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent calendar with the exception of item D.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? It's unanimously carried. We will now go to item 7D, which is the adoption of resolution number 14515, approving the Muscatel Avenue Engineering and Traffic Survey and recommended speed limits and traffic calming improvements.
Good evening. My name is Jana Robbins. I'm with Trans Tech Engineers. We are the traffic consultant for the city. Oh. And we prepared a traffic study on this item. We have a short presentation, kind of giving a summary of our findings and recommendations. As a result of residents complaining that Muscatel was experienced.
Yeah, could you speak into the microphone a
Oh, I'm
little,
sorry.
a little closer if you could?
Muscatel between Longden and Las Tunas was experiencing a heavy amount of traffic and speeding vehicles. This was residents' complaints. So the city asked us to look at this section and see if there's any traffic calming measures that could be implemented on this section to help the residents with the speeding and the heavy traffic. We looked at existing conditions. Here's just a study segments. First segment, we divided into two segments. The first segment is on the left. Segment 1 is on Muscatel between Longden and Garibaldi. And the segment right below it is Muscatel between Garibaldi and Las Tunas. We included Rosemead because at the time when this came up, Rosemead was under construction. North of Muscatel, north of Longden, there was some complaints because of the school traffic, but this section is in the county of Los Angeles, so the city does not have control of that. We can make recommendations, but ultimately, any recommendations would have to come from the county. This section is posted 25 miles per hour. The other sections are posted, let me go back, 35 miles per hour. Now, what is a function of a residential street? A residential street is supposed to provide access to residents and some business with that a high level of pedestrian bicycle activity. The goal of a local street is to foster safe and pleasant environment compatible with the single-family land uses. Segment 1, Muscatel between Longden. It's a 40-foot wide street. It has a posted speed limit of 35. It's single-family homes. Emperor Elementary School is north of Emperor. It lies in LA County. There are no east-west connector streets, so it's a long segment. It was 1,500 feet long. There is always stop control at Longden and then at Garibaldi. And in the general plan, it's classified as a residential street. Segment 2, same street width, 40, posted 35. Obviously, there's signal at Las Tunas. There's single-family homes. There's a little bit of commercial use near Las Tunas. 2 east-west streets connect to Muscatel. There's Elm and Hermosa. And there's always stop at Hermosa and Garibaldi, so it slows traffic a little bit with the street. Our findings. We placed tube counts, which are the ADT, which is 24-hour counts on each of these segments. Up higher, as you notice, number 4 is the bottom section as they come off of Las Tunas. You have 6,900, roughly, vehicles per day. It gets a little less trips as we go up. So what that kind of means is as the traffic goes north or south, they're bailing out of the side streets. We looked at accident history using SWITRs, which is the statewide integrated traffic records, and LA County Sheriff's records. There were a total of 12 accidents over a 3-year period. Now, most of these accidents, if not all, were in the intersection itself. They weren't in the mid-block location. Now, some people say, oh, there was more accidents, but this is what we have on record. The police department turns in these accidents to the state, and this is what is recorded. We did not have 2013, we only have a quarter of the year, so if something happened recently, it's not reflected here. There were 7 accidents in the actual intersection of Las Tunas and Muscatel, which could include left turners, east-west, north-south. There were 4 accidents at Longden and Muscatel. They were also in the intersection, which means that left turn, right turn, that type of thing in the intersection. 1 accident occurred at Hermosa and Muscatel. Now, this is the only speed-related accident. It was a rear end. It was a northbound as it approached Hermosa. Our recommendations. We looked at traffic calming devices and strategies that could be used in this section. 1, these are typical devices that can be used based on the California Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices and the Vehicle Code. 1 is traffic education campaign. There's signage. We can make larger stop and speed limit signs, striping, high visibility crosswalks, additional police enforcement. These are our recommendations. 1, and later I'll talk a little bit more about them. 1 is to reduce the speed limit along Muscatel by 5 miles per hour from 35 to 30 miles per hour. The California Vehicle Code allows us, if a engineering and traffic survey is completed, to reduce the posted speed limit from the 85th by 5 miles per hour. And that would be in compliance with the California Vehicle Code and Section 627 and 22358.5. We're recommending that all the stop signs on Muscatel, northbound and southbound, be replaced with larger stop signs for added visibility. Speed limit signs be replaced with oversized speed limit signs. Existing crosswalks and stop bars be repainted with high visibility paint at the all-way stops. This high visibility paint is kind of a plastic or epoxy material, so at night it's highly reflective. And then also, which is a little different, but it is used in some of the cities adjacent to you, is a solid white side stripe painted on both sides of Muscatel between Longden and Garibaldi to essentially, it narrows the lane, and it gives people the perception that the lane is narrower, so it slows the speed. The added benefit is that it does not affect parking or it doesn't affect access. Then also, which came out of the Planning Commission, is at all the all-way stop locations, we would put an all-way stop plaque below each of the stop signs, so that as you approach the stop sign at an all-way stop intersection, you're aware that all the directions stop. As part of this, we did our own radar speed survey. In 2010, a radar speed survey, the citywide radar speed survey, was done for the city. This speed survey justified the posted speed limit, the 85th percentile speed, which is right here, came out similar to this, the 36.3, it was like that. So using the guidelines that we're allowed to by the vehicle code, if a 85th percentile speed, the limit is set at the closest 5 mile per hour. So if it's 36.3, it would be set at 35 miles per hour. So the 2010 speed survey set it at 35 miles per hour. In February of this year, we went out and we did an additional speed survey to see how conditions had changed. What we found is what's here. Between Muscatel, between Longden and Garibaldi, the 85th percentile is 36.3, which essentially says the posted limit should be 35, or it can be posted at 35. Now, Muscatel between Garibaldi and Las Tunas, when we did the speed survey, the 85th percentile speed was at 32.5, which essentially is the nearest 5 mile per hour speed limit would be 30 miles per hour if you're setting it at the 85th percentile speed. What we are proposing is to make both sections at 30 miles per hour. This can be, since it is a local residential street, As defined by the California Vehicle Code, essentially you could post a local residential street at 25 miles per hour. So we felt reducing it by 5 miles per hour, which is within the California Vehicle Code, in compliance, that it is a good first step to trying to reduce the speed limit. And this speed limit is done by engineering, so you could adopt this speed limit. Let me get the next. So, in summary, our recommendations, there we go. I'm going the wrong way, I guess. Here we go, sorry. Here is our larger speed limit signs. That's what we're recommending. The standard size is 30 by 30. The oversized signs are 36 by 36. Speed limit also 24 by 30. Oversized is 30 by 36. It increases motorist awareness and highlights areas in the roadway that drivers are aware of the speed limit and stops. Now here is the visually narrowing the lanes. This is a striping. This is done in the city of Alhambra on Almanzar Street. They had a similar problem. They have parking on both sides of the street, and they put in the white side stripe. As you see, cars are still allowed to park. They can turn into their driveways. But it has been proven to be an effective device for reducing travel speeds. And this just is a little visual of what we're proposing. So at, for example, at Longden, we're repainting the stop bars, crosswalks, pavement legends. We would add, here it would be stop ahead signs. New, if you approve the reduced speed limit, it would be new 30-mile-per-hour signs. Here would be all the painting with the high visibility paint of all the stop bars, crosswalks. Now, this would be conducted in essentially 2 phases, because I know the city will be preparing a pavement rehabilitation. So it wouldn't, all the legends and striping would not be done until the pavement has been modified, and then they can do it at the same time. So it's not like you go out and paint something and then they're going to redo the pavement and have to do it again. So the first phase would be putting in new signs, and the second phase would be doing the legends and markings on the street. This is the next section between Longden. The white stripe would only be between Longden and Garibaldi, where the speed limit, the 85th cars were traveling at a little higher rate of 35 miles per hour. This would be Garibaldi to Las Tunas. The same idea, but no white stripe. You'd be repainting the crosswalks, stop signs, adding the new speed limit signs. And down here, right above Las Tunas, would be adding the signs. Garibaldi, same idea. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Good presentation. Are there any questions from council members?
I have one.
Okay.
Could you put the slide back where the white striping is on Almanzar? Is that
Yes.
between the high school, Alhambra High School, and City Hall?
It's at Bay State, right around Bay State. It's not by the high school, no.
Okay.
There's in this location, there's a senior housing on the west side, and it's all single family, other than that.
Is that similar striping between the high school and the City Hall in Alhambra?
I think the one in front of in the high school is more of a drop-off lane. It's a similar thing, but that's for drop-off pickup lane, I think.
Okay. Because I've been there, not this street, but the other one, and it's confusing at times. It seems like the first time you go down there, if you don't know, it's like, is that to park? Is it, what is that lane? So
They would have to do a little education with the residents so that they know what's going on. So I would, the city could put a little handout, a little notice or something. At the end of each street, you would have a little curve, so it's not like an open thing where they're gonna think it's a travel lane. It would be curved. I've seen some places where they even can put a slant line if it's a problem every once in a while to
Oh.
designate that it's a parking.
Thank you, that's all.
Okay, any other questions from council members? Okay, we have a request from James Cleary to speak on this item.
Yeah, I thank the city council for letting me get a chance to do this. This one hurt my head. City money was spent on an expenditure that wasn't needed. It was, basically what it was the overflow of Rosemead Boulevard construction. Two residents called and complained about people racing down that road, so a traffic survey was then enacted, and hence we're here. I think the city council has something better to do than things like this. I don't agree with the city using funds to do anything in county incorporated areas in order for traffic problems. I think that should be held for the county to take care of. And if you read this report, like I read everything that people put out, you'll find out why my head hurt. That's why I feel I'm against it. I think it's a waste of time and it's a waste of paint.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else care to speak on this item? Mr. Jambazian?
Good evening, council members. Jerry Jambazian. I just have a question. On this white stripe, could it be made into a bicycle lane? And would it affect parking, and could people still park?
Here you go.
It couldn't be made into bicycle lane because bicycle lanes need an additional 5 feet as well as parking, so the road is not wide enough for that. So it would affect parking if you stripe it for a bicycle lane. Most bicycle lanes in residential area is kind of a share of the road, but you couldn't stripe it as a bicycle lane though.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one more speaker. Please give us your name. And
Dan DeBoer, I live on Musket Hill Avenue. I want to thank the council and the city staff for helping us address this issue. And it is not just something that has happened, although it became more acute with the Rosemead project. It has continued to have overflow issues on Musket Hill with high rates of speed, especially during the commuter time. I know the study was done in the middle of the day, correct?
Yes.
And most of the time, the high speeds where you see up to 60 miles an hour is between like 4 o'clock in the afternoon and probably 6 o'clock at night. So first, I want to thank the council and the city staff for listening to us and addressing the issue. And hopefully these speed calming measures, if approved, hopefully you'll approve it, will help begin reducing the unsafe traffic flow on Musket Hill. Thank you.
okay, thank you, Dan. Yeah, as you may be aware, we did traffic calming studies here in the city. We had community meetings to identify the locations where there's problems. And as we've said in the past, we're proactively trying to look at issues that affect our citizens. So, okay, is there anyone else who would care to speak on this matter? Okay, if not, I will close the public comment time, and I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor Bloom, I would make a motion to approve item D, the consent calendar.
A second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No one opposed. Item D has been approved. Okay, we will now move to item 8 on the agenda, which is a public hearing. Item 8A is the adoption of a resolution certifying conformance with the congestion management program. Could I have staff report, please?
Good evening, Mayor, council members, members of the audience. Tonight before you is the certification for the city's congestion management program for 2013-14. 1990 Proposition 111 was passed in California, requiring that all cities and counties adopt measures to reduce traffic congestion in the region. 1992, the LA County Metropolitan Transportation Authority established the congestion management program for LA County. Since 1992, there have been several updates, the most recent one occurring in October 28, 2010. Proposition 111 proposed an increase to the state gas tax to help fund regional transportation improvements and to create a congestion management program to monitor regional transportation conditions. If a city fails to conform with the congestion management program, that city's share of the gas tax would go towards the county to use on projects. And also the city fails to adopt or be in compliance with the congestion management program, city would not be eligible for call for projects. Basically, we wouldn't be able to apply for certain funds to for certain traffic improvements. The city's estimated gas tax funds for fiscal year 2014-15 is a little over $1 million. These are some, or part of the congestion management program is that we're supposed to provide development activity in the city. So this is just a snapshot from June 2013 to May 31st, 2014. These are just the new structures that have been built since or during that time period. Does not take into effect. They also require us to report residential structures that were demolished and also new commercial development. So staff recommends that the City Council adopt the resolution 145016 that self-certifies the city's conformance with the congestion management program. And this would allow us to receive the gas tax funds for fiscal year 2014-15. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Are there any council questions? Okay, I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this item? Okay, if not, I will close the public hearing. Council comments? Anybody have comments? No. Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution number 14-5016, certifying conformance with the congestion management program for June 1st, 2013 to May 31st, 2014.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? This item has been approved unanimously. We will now go to item 9 on the agenda. It's unfinished business. Item A is a request from Singtel Newspapers, Los Angeles Limited, for the city to host and co-sponsor the 2015 Singtel Lunar New Year Street Festival.
Mayor Bloom, before you proceed with that matter, I'm going to declare a conflict of interest for the reasons stated last time this matter was on the agenda, and will recuse myself from this matter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, don't fall asleep.
Yeah.
Don't forget to come and get me.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave the brownies.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't eat all the
Okay, can we have the staff report, please?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. This is a continuation of the discussion that the council had at the June 17th council meeting. A request from Singtel for the city to host and co-sponsor the 2015 Lunar New Year Street Festival. Since the June meeting, staff met with Singtel representatives to further discuss the proposal and to clarify some of the issues. Earlier this year, on February 1st, Tsingtao held the 2014 Lunar New Year Festival, which was held in Temple City Park and along Las Tunas Drive, and the city hosted and co-sponsored that event. The event was a success, and Tsingtao is seeking to build upon and continue the success of this year's event by continuing it next year. The Tsingtao submitted a special event permit application in March of this year, and they made a presentation to the City Council, as I indicated, on June 17th. What's being proposed for next year's event is that it would be a two-day event occurring on Saturday and Sunday, June 24th and 25th. It would occur in Temple City Park, as well as on 5 blocks of Las Tunas Drive between Temple City Boulevard and Roland Avenue. The event would include booths and carnival rides, and would also possibly include alcohol sales. There was some discussion at the council meeting in June, and Tsingtao had originally proposed to include free giveaways of alcohol. They have since withdrawn that request and have indicated that they would not be giving away alcohol, but they may still be selling alcohol. They're not certain yet if they would do that, but that would still be a possibility that they would be selling it, but not giving it away. Tsingtao is proposing that the city would be responsible under this proposal for closing 5 blocks of Las Tunas Drive starting at 9 p.m. on Friday, January 23rd through 11:30 p.m. on Sunday, January 25th. The city would allow Tsingtao the exclusive use of Temple City Park facilities, which would include the pavilion, the playground, eating area, restrooms, parking facilities, as well as the water supply in the park to assist with the booths and other facilities for the event. Reserving street banner space for advertising, as well as incurring all costs for the Sheriff's Department services. Tsingtao has also requested that the city ensure access to street parking and public parking lots in the area around the event, and the city would accomplish that by suspending enforcement of the parking time limits in the area during the festival. Tsingtao has also requested that the city provide notice of the festival to the surrounding neighborhood, and staff would propose to do that by either mailing or hand delivering notice to all of the businesses along Las Tunas for the area that would be closed, as well as the residents and businesses 1 block north and 1 block south of Las Tunas in the area that would be closed. Staff has estimated that the cost for the city of providing these services would be about $11,300 for overtime costs, and that does not include the staff time that would be required during normal working hours. About $13,200 for the Sheriff's Department services, and about $2,000 for equipment rental, and that is for water barriers that would be used to block Las Tunas Drive. And that does not include the equipment and facilities that would be used that are already owned by the city. Tsingtao has offered to provide the city with $10,000 to offset these costs. So the total estimated cost is $26,500 minus the $10,000 that Tsingtao has offered. So the total direct cost to the city would be $16,500 is what staff is estimating. And again, those are the direct costs. Staff has not sought to estimate the indirect costs of staff time during normal working hours and the facilities and equipment that are already owned by the city. So the recommendation for the council this evening is for the council to consider hosting and co-sponsoring the 2015 Tsingtao Lunar New Year Street Festival, to consider accepting the $10,000 from Tsingtao to help offset the cost to the city of hosting the event, and to consider appropriating $26,500 from the general fund undesignated fund balance to cover the costs of staff overtime, the Sheriff's Department costs, and the equipment rental. And this would all be contingent upon the completion by Tsingtao of certain conditions by December 2nd, 2014. Those conditions are outlined in greater detail in the staff report, and we have selected the date of December 2nd just to ensure that there's ample time before the event takes place to make sure that all the details are worked out and that we have time to plan everything in advance. I'm happy to answer any questions. We also have representatives from Tsingtao in the audience this evening to answer any questions from the council.
Okay, are there questions from any council members?
I don't see a recommendation from staff.
We didn't prepare a recommendation because we feel that that it would be a policy decision whether we wish to fund it. We recommend the event, but we're not certain whether a city subsidy, the amount that would be required is something that staff should recommend. It's really, that part of it is a policy decision, but for purpose of the event, we think it's, it's a worthwhile event.
Okay.
Our feedback was it was a successful event. I think having a second day will be a significant challenge, and I think we should really take a close look at to see what type of response it gets, to see whether a second day is really worthwhile that the city would co-sponsor the following year. So that's basically our position.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
What did we spend last year?
I'm not certain. I thought it was around $6,000 to $8,000. Is Robert? Do you remember that number for last year? $7,000 was the city's contribution last year for the one-day event.
Correct.
And they contributed. Was it about 6 themselves or something like that? So I mean, if you look at the numbers, it's about half the cost for one day versus 2 day, and we essentially split the cost last year.
I have several questions. I guess one, why a two-day event at this point? Maybe Sing Tao can address that issue versus the one-day event. We had a one-day event last year. It was quite successful. What is the two-day event going to give us? And if someone from Sing Tao want to address that, please.
Hi, I'm Melissa Lee from Singtown. I'm the general manager. Thank you for having me tonight. Mr. Mayor, why are we going to do second day this year? Because earlier this year for our festival, we heard a lot of feedbacks from the residents, from the vendors, from every positive feedbacks that they want to do longer, have more fun on 2 days. The resident even came at 5 o'clock and they want to join the festival and it was over already. And then they asked for, why don't you do 2 days? And also our vendors, since they are here, they want to, all the setup already been set up. So they would like to have another day to, to enjoy, have fun in the city. And the resident also asked us, why don't you do 2 days so I can bring my child tomorrow to have some rides. So that's why we are considering that next year we propose to have 2 days events. That's why.
Okay. Yeah, I'm the city manager sort of touched on that. I think if we proceed on that basis, to me, it'd almost be like a probation year. Let's see how it plays out and not, just lock in that there's going to be a 2-day event all the time. I guess part of my reason for that is, we're closing down Las Tunas from Las Tunas down to Roland, I think it is. And, there's a number of businesses along there, and this is Saturday, and a number of our businesses do business on Saturday. And, the parking that normally is there for our businesses, is gone when an event like this occurs. And I guess one of the other questions I had, you were requesting that the city provide 300 additional parking spaces, and I don't think we can do that. I think it's street parking. We got the public parking lots, but for us to go out and find additional parking spaces, I don't quite see us doing that. I guess my other comment, I'm inclined to split the cost. We split the cost last year. For co-sponsoring this thing, it seems appropriate that that takes place. Those are all my comments at this time. We have 3 people that would like to speak on this issue. First of all is James Clary, and I'm not sure if James, he's left, Elvis has left the room.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Co-sponsoring would mean how much?
Well, if it's 26,000, it's splitting the 26 and the 13.
Yeah, but that's,
or whatever.
that's a 2-day cost, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I thought if we're talking about one day, we're splitting 13?
Well, at this point, the proposal is for 2 days, okay? We haven't made that decision yet. That's one of the decisions, but if it is, the estimated cost is 26, but I'm assuming that's an estimated cost. And the way this is set up, if Tsingtao donates 10,000 and the costs go higher, we absorb any additional costs. And I'm just saying that, you know, if the costs are going higher, we should be splitting since we're co-sponsoring.
Okay, well, so if we did go one day, would they still be donating 10,000?
I didn't get that impression, but we would have to talk to them. My understanding is it was based on a 2-day event, but we didn't specifically get into that sort of detail. But that was my assumption for 2 days.
That'd be good info to have for a decision.
Yeah, we could ask them that if.
Yeah. Okay, I have Mr. Jambazian is asked to speak on this issue.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm not sure that I'm going to, for the first time in history, I'm not going to be able to keep within the 3 minutes, but I will do the best I can. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm in favor of the project. I attended the one in February 1st, and I thought it was a good event and should be done again. I'm not in agreement with the funding of them, considering that the city spend the amount of money that they're requesting. Tsingtao is a publicly traded company in Hong Kong, and they have $2.4 billion in assets. 2.4 billion with a B. On February 1st, I'm reading from your staff report. On February 1st, 2014, the city hosted and co-sponsored the 2014 Tsingtao Chinese New Year Festival. Nowhere did it have Tsingtao's name on the banner itself. It was down at the bottom with all the other sponsors that were listed. Maybe there was about 5 or 6 of them. I have a photograph of the actual banner. Chinese New Year Street Festival, that's what it was called on February 1st, 2014. The other item is that Tsingtao further stated that they were willing to pay $10,000 to the city to help offset the cost of hosting the event, with the city to absorb the remaining cost that we all know. Tsingtao would have to partner with a local nonprofit organization if it wishes to sell alcohol. I would hope that this wouldn't be the Chamber of Commerce or some other nonprofit organization in Temple City. The city would be responsible for the following, including renting all signs, barricades, and other equipment, allowing the exclusive use of all the facilities in Temple City Park, even though they say later on that they want this event to be all-inclusive. They want exclusive rights to a certain portion of Temple City. Reserving a street banner space on Las Tunas Drive and Temple City Boulevard. Actually, they're asking for 2 spaces. And I'm wondering who's going to pay for that. If our Kiwanis Club wants to put up a street banner, it's probably about $450. So I'm wondering how that's going to happen. Incur all costs for LA County sheriffs. They requested that street parking for an additional 300 cars. I think Mayor Bloom brought that up. And they have requested that the city provide notice of the festival to the surrounding neighborhood. And I don't know why we would have to be responsible for notifying them. They should have to do that themselves. Part of the cost is $2,000 in rental cost for 100 water barriers, plus the 50 that the city already owns. I don't know if anybody's watched the news lately, but California is suffering the hottest year that it's ever had, and we're in a water drought. What's going to happen if we take water and fill up 150 water barriers? Where's this water going to go? Is it going to just be wasted afterwards, or what's going to happen to it? So I'm against it because we don't know if there's going to be a water drought in January and February, but there certainly is one now. It's going to take a while to recover from it. So I don't agree with that idea. In the conclusion part of the staff report, they're talking about the name of the event, and the staff report include direct cost of overtime pay, payment for law enforcement services, and equipment rental. Staff did not seek to document the indirect cost of staff time required during normal working hours or use of vehicles, facilities, and equipment owned by the city. On their security information, they asked for 2 street banners. On the alcohol permit, they're asking for free alcohol, alcohol sales, and beer and wine sampling. On the restrooms, they're using 8 restrooms plus 2 ADA accessible restrooms. Going by the Los Angeles County Department of Health Services, for every 175 women and for every 250 men, a portable toilet is required. If they're expecting 20,000 people to this festival, that would mean we would need 212 portable toilets by the LA County's health requirements. So I'm wondering, how are we going to get by with 10? 8 regular and 2 ADA. So I'm not sure how that's going to work. I'm almost done. The insurance, I'm sure that you probably came up with this whole application process probably 2 years ago when we had the very first street festival, and it had to be done in a hurry. But you're asking for $2,000 in liability insurance. I put on a little Sunday school convention at the Pasadena Convention Center every year, and I provide them with $3 million, and that's what they require. So I'm wondering why we're only requiring $2 million from a $2.4 billion company. That's it. The only other thing that I have to show, I took this picture on the morning of the last street festival, and it's the curb that it's directly outside of City Hall here. I watched a large truck go over the curb, break the curb, and guess who had to fix it? We did. So I don't know whether they paid for it or not, but these are the kind of little incidental things that go on. We can talk about what it's going to cost, but in reality, we all know it's going to cost a whole lot more. So I'll just close my remarks by saying I'm in favor of the project. I'm just not in favor of the way it's being funded. In fact, I'll go even be a little more bold in saying they should be paying the city at least a minimum of $50,000 to put on this event with a $100,000 I don't know what I want to call it, guarantee in case there's anything that goes beyond the $50,000 that costs the city. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I appreciate the little bit of time that I went over. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jambazian. Another speaker, Mary, hang on, Mary. We have a request from William Mann to speak on this issue.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Bloom and esteemed fellow city council members. I thank you for this moment to share my thoughts with you. Tonight, I really just want to bring up one question, and it doesn't have anything to do with money, logistics, or any of that sort. The question for myself personally is, it's something that I've asked myself growing up here. What does it mean to be an Asian American living in the U.S.? Now, over the years, I've asked this question to many people, and I've received many different answers. And it's not surprising because obviously we're all shaped by our personal experiences and how that molds our personal identity. And I remember my very first memory of a Chinese New Year festival was when I was still pretty young and my parents had the chance to finally take me to one. It was unforgettable for me. The atmosphere was joyous, celebratory. There were lots of delicious foods all over the place. The air was filled with that aroma. But the one thing I will never forget is when I first saw Chinese firecrackers being set off. Now, growing up here, I had been used to the stuff that we see during the 4th of July. And here I am looking at long chains of bright red firecrackers just dangling from all over the place. However, I was not expected for the result when they actually lit the firecrackers. If you could imagine sort of this endless ear-piercing popping that just never seemed to end because they come in these chains of hundreds of firecrackers, I was initially terrified. And after the noise had subsided and the smoke had dispersed, I turned around and I asked my father, why in the world do these firecrackers have to be so loud? And he calmly explained to me that, well, in Chinese tradition, we believe that setting off firecrackers ward off evil spirits, and it brings in good luck, and it paves the way for a new year. So really, the only purpose of the firecracker, as far as I'm concerned, is the louder the better. And so for me, that really set off sort of my own personal journey in terms of discovering who I really am. I started asking more questions. Why are there 12 animals in the Chinese zodiac? Why are certain Chinese letters hung upside down on doorways? And little by little, I start to really build an understanding and respect for my own Chinese heritage. Now, Temple City, we're a very diverse community, and it goes without saying that there is a heavy Asian American population residing here. I think when the city steps forward and acts as co-hosts and co-sponsors to this event, we're not only showing to everybody in our community, we're also showing to our neighbors that we are celebrating and embracing this sort of diversity that exists. And we're also giving others the opportunity to share in this experience. And so I think collectively, with all our different experiences, we might come up with a different answer to the question of what it means to be an Asian American. You don't necessarily have to be an Asian American to ponder that question. I think having a Chinese New Year festival, or in this case a Lunar New Year festival, which is celebrated by a wide variety, many different types of people with Asian ethnic backgrounds, I think we can all experience for ourselves one day in a year, or in this case maybe 2 days in a year, we can answer that question for ourselves: what does it mean to be an Asian American? And I think this type of opportunity is too valuable to pass up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Murray Kikeo, please.
I understand what he said, but I am also a first-generation American of Russian background. I don't expect Temple City. My Christmas is on January 7th. Do you do anything for me? No. Do you do anything for Cinco de Mayo? No. Why an exception? On Rosemead Boulevard, there's a Greek Orthodox church. I'm Russian Orthodox. They rent Santa Anita Racetrack. They have to pay for it. They don't get anything free. They have to pay the fees. That's a great place. Why don't they go there? There's plenty of parking. And I'm not against, I have a lot of Asians in my neighborhood. I talked to them. We didn't have time. It was humid. They liked the festival, but they don't think the city should pay for it. I didn't have a chance to get any signatures or anything. But I'm not against the Asians having this. But the city should not put up 1 penny. They should pay us. Why are you doing this? Because somebody like Jerry did a good research on that. They have all this money. Why is this newspaper in LA butting into Temple City? They should have come here only, whoever's putting this up. Every time we have any ethnic stuff in LA, the Russians, the Serbians, we have Serbians in Temple City, lots of them around here. Nobody asks you to do anything for them. I understand what they want. It's their new year. Fine. But we shouldn't be putting out a penny. They should be paying us for use of the streets, use of the park, our 2 bathrooms, all the water, flushing and all that. There's a lot of extra things. Electricity. There's a lot of little things. The grass is going to get all beat up. We're going to have to fix it up. So I think it's great that they want to celebrate, but we shouldn't have anything to do with money. It's a private thing. We don't get a penny from them. They make the money and they keep it. In October, when we have the thing in the park, those people have to pay for their spot. And I don't know if they pay you a percentage. On Sundays, okay, Carl's Jr., there's a lot of businesses that are going to be hurt. The liquor store, and did you forget that there's the medical center near Roland? What's going to happen to people that have to go there on Saturday or whatever? They won't have a place to park. If you're sick, what are you going to do? There's a lot of things you have to consider. And going to Roland is going to be really bad. I think last time you had it, you can still go down Golden West, because we could go up and down on Golden West. And so anyway, I'm not against the Asians. I'm not against the New Year. Celebrate it, but don't make us, we're all paying for it. Where do you think the money that you have is coming? It's coming from our taxes. The S-bond that people voted for, when I talk to them, they say, oh, the state's sending us the money. I said, well, where is it coming out? It's out of your pocket. They said we wouldn't have voted for it if we knew that, but they didn't research it.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Would anyone else care to speak at this time? Yes, sir.
I'm all for the celebration itself.
Yeah, Mark, could you give us?
Yeah, Mark
your name
Ankler,
again? Thank you.
9163.5 Los Tunas Drive. I'm all for the celebration, and any group that wants to hold some kind of an event here in the city and using city facilities. But I disagree with the city footing any part of the bill for that. I mean, it's a privilege for them to use our facilities and our space for that. I mean, so they should be grateful for that and not be asking for anything from the city. I'm first-generation American from Dutch parents, and if we were to hold a Sinterklaas celebration, which is the Dutch version of the Christmas celebration, I wouldn't expect, with a gathering of Dutch residents, I wouldn't expect the city to pay a dime for that. I wouldn't ask for a dime of it. So I would hope the city council not give them any money for that.
Okay.
But support the celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please give us your name.
My name is Carol Doherty. I'm a member of the First United Methodist Church, which is at the corner of Golden West and Woodruff, behind the library. You're talking about doing this on Sunday. We have two churches, our church, and we have an Asian church in our congregations. Our service starts at 10, and so does the Faith United Methodist, which is the Asian congregation. We have services at the same time, and they hold a service at 11:30, praise service at 11:30. Our church is done. We don't hold two services. We use, the parking itself is terrible on Sundays because of the two churches. Some people have to park further away, and we do have the handicap parking encourage those handicapped to park close to the church, plus our parking lot across the street. Now, I don't know what time you're talking about having these fireworks, but I would hope that it would not be on a Sunday morning during church service. I agree they are loud and very ear-piercing. I heard enough of them over 4th of July. But you just got to remember that there is a church within a block of this festival of the park, within half a block of the park. And I think if you want to hold it again, I agree with Mary. I'm not against any festivals, and I think it's wonderful that we can celebrate our diversity. But I just do think that Sunday might not be a good day because of church services, people trying to park to attend these services. So I would just urge you kind of maybe just, if you could, one day, maybe just Saturday, rather than the 2 days, and not maybe do it on Sunday. I mean, I can see some potential problems if you do it on a Sunday too. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carol. Okay, anyone else care to speak?
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Lucy Liu, Temple City resident. First of all, I want to thank Jerry for doing such a thorough research. I agree. Being a Chinese American, of course, I love Lunar New Year festivals. I do agree with the fact that it's great for the city to have something like this. For 2 days, in my personal opinion, I think it's a little too long. I think maybe we can extend it to a longer one-day event. As far as having the city flip that much of the bill, I know neighboring cities like Alhambra, Monterey Park, they have other newspapers doing these types of festivals. Maybe if we can get like a comparison study from them as to what their costs are before we finally decide how much we should flip. I don't really think we should flip too much, or if anything at all. I know the cost is between getting them or not, having a festival or not. But, $2.4 billion company, publicly traded, I think $30,000 or however much it is, it really isn't too much to ask them to put up. But then again, to be fair, I don't know what other cities do when they hold these festivities. I think it would be to our best interest to find out so that we can make a better judgment as to if we should flip the bill or we shouldn't, and possibly how long we do it. In my recollection, I don't think anybody's done a 2-day event like this, but I could be wrong. I haven't gone to one in a long time because traffic is horrendous. But I do know other cities do it, so I recommend that the council consider getting reports from the surrounding cities that does hold these events. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lucy. Anyone else care to speak? Okay, if not, you'd like to address some of the issues? Sure.
Just answering the question, because we are doing another festival this month with City of Rosemead. And actually, City of Rosemead, they absorb everything, every penny, every dime. And also, they gave us another extra money to promote, to do the festival. The reason why they are doing that, because they want to bring some good events to their resident. That's their purpose. So Rosemead, they actually pay every dime to absorb all the cost for the police, the sheriff, the fire department, and also they gave us an extra money because the purpose is bringing some good events to their resident. That's their purpose. Thank you.
Melissa, excuse me, can I ask you, what is the event that you're bringing to Rosemead? It's not the same event.
No, that's called a Moon Festival, and it's a nighttime festival. It's different. It's from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m.
And is that one day?
Yeah, one day.
So I would imagine that for that one day, for a short period of time, the cost is much less.
Actually, it's not that less. They still have to pay like $20,000. Plus, they gave us an extra amount money to do the festival because they want to bring to the resident some kind of events. That's their purpose.
Where is their event?
They're going to Close Valley between Walnut Grove and Iva.
So is that about 4 blocks?
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, which day is that?
It's August 23rd.
Which
on
day of the week
Saturday.
you're saying is from 4 to?
It's for Moon Festival.
Yeah.
Yes,
From
August 23rd.
4 to 11?
From 4 to 11.
Is that a Saturday or a Sunday?
It's a Saturday.
Saturday?
Mhm.
Okay, anyone else care to speak? Lucy, you've been up here once, and I'll give you 30 seconds.
Not to be Rosemead has more businesses. Their residential business proportion is not as Temple City, where we're 90% residential, 10% business. So they can afford to give you more money for that. You know, again, I'm in favor of the festival, but we are 90% residential. You're asking mainly the residents to flip the bill. So yes, we're getting the fun and celebration, but it's a pretty high cost, in my opinion, that is.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else care to speak? Yes. Please give us your name.
My name is Beverly Guan. Good evening, everyone. I just have a question. Does the city pay for any other festivals in the city? And if it does, why can't we contribute a little bit on this one? I mean, if we don't pay for any other festivals, then I can understand. But do we pay anything at all to any other events?
What do we do for the community festival?
Is Robert still here?
Yeah, I have some data. For the Camellia Festival last year, the costs, and I don't have Kathy's numbers, so I don't know, this does not include Parks and Recreation. They were $25,668. That included sheriff's costs of $16,387, staff costs of $9,200. So it's $25,668, but that just includes everything but Parks and Recreation. So I don't know what years were. Kathy, do you happen to know what years might be?
And that was for 3 days?
Is that how long, is it 3 days? Okay, 3 days. About 12,000? Okay, so it's probably in the range of about $35,000, $37,000 for 3 days.
And I think that the difference could be said with that is that the Camellia Festival is operated by a nonprofit organization where the monies go back into the community. Most of the monies of the profits, I was at the meeting when it was being dispersed. I'm not on the board, but I believe Jerry, you are, and the profits did go back into the community. They have a small reserve for which they operate from the meetings that I attended, and I believe they have a reserve of probably $12,000, and that's to help cover Camellia Festival cost if there is a rain out. And the festival, they still have to pay for to the carnival company for the rides being set up, even though they're not used. So that's where, if any monies did not go back into the community from the profits, then that money is set aside for the years that they would have a rain out. And they have had 2 in the past 5 years, I believe. So that is a significant difference.
Oh, is that the only event we pay for?
You mentioned a festival.
Festival, yes.
I believe so. I don't think we have any other.
The concert, the evening.
Concerts in the park.
Yeah.
Are co-sponsored by, different companies. I don't know how much the city actually pays. Maybe Mr. Penman or Kathy could answer that for you.
I think the difference is the city concerts are they're city events. They are not operated or run by an outside organization. They are actual city events that the city pays for and the city staff organize and plan. The Camellia Festival has been for probably 50 years co-sponsored by the city, used to be by the Chamber of Commerce and the city. Now the city is the sole sponsor of the Camellia Festival on and behalf of for the city council. So I think the difference is that those events that we're talking about are and have been for many years city events themselves, that the city is involved in organizing, planning, and paying for.
And this event cannot be a city event, partially a city event, maybe a city and private, like the P3 project, public and private combined thing? I'm not sure how many days and how much we exactly should pay, but my question is that if the city pays for other events and considers other events as city events, can this one be a P2 event maybe? Or something like that? Because, I mean, these events have been around for a long time, but yet we're changing, we're constantly changing. Our population is changing, everything is changing. Can we start looking into that option maybe?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, if that, I will close the public comment time. Okay, council comments. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay,
First of all, I want to say that whether or not it's an Asian event or a non-Asian event, in my mind, it's an event. And that's how I look at this event and this request. If it was another group, and I would look at it the same way. I do have some genuine concerns, and it's not about having it. I think it was a great event. I love it. I enjoyed it. I was there. I don't see a problem with it being the 2 days on a temporary basis to see if it, indeed doesn't have a huge impact on the residential areas, because we are 90% residential, and even the surrounding businesses. But with that, I have some real concerns about the timing. I would recommend that if we did do it on a 2-day event, that we don't start the event on Sunday until at noontime, from 12 to 7. And we shorten the Sunday afternoon time. I believe the Camellia Festival on Sunday, for, I don't know, many years, didn't even open up the carnival rides until till 12 o'clock on Sunday. So that would be one recommendation. I have a difficult time approving the event with some of the exclusions that Singtao would like. Having the parking lots in the city, the public parking lots, exclusive to the Singtao event, just doesn't sit right with me. I mean, those parking lots as it is, residents have a hard enough time parking in our city, trying to get to the available restaurants. I don't know what message that is we're sending if we're saying the parking lots are just for Singtao. When I recently was in Oxnard and went to a taco and margarita festival, and I had to walk about a mile to get there. And there was parking for the facilities. There's an adjacent mall. It's an outside mall, similar to Victoria Gardens out in Rancho Cucamonga. But they made sure that those businesses were not affected. And if you wanted to go to that Taco and Margarita Festival, you walked. And you walked a long way, but you didn't impact the people that were already there and the businesses there. So that's my first thought. I think Jerry's questions are valid, something that I never thought about. I mean, I think you would be willing to adjust the ratio of toilets to the population. I mean, I think that's just a sanitary thing to do, and that seems like an easy fix. I realize that our population and demographics in Temple City have changed significantly. My hope is that events like this, don't segregate the populations, but they bring everyone together. And with that, I think we need to understand that this is an economic decision that is the most important to the city. We're entrusted with the finances of the city and to make sure that we do well with our taxpayers' money. I agree that we have a changing population, and it's wonderful. And I think the city council and the city staff, they have done an exceptional job of reaching out to the Asian community on so many levels. I mean, I think this city has gone far and above many other cities to include our Asian population, to reach out to our Asian population. Yes, it's true that our Asian population doesn't engage. We've heard that from Councilmember Yu, who he himself is an Asian and works very hard at trying to get the Asian population to engage. But I don't think that's our primary responsibility as city council members, is to, it's a partnership. And I think you put the carrot out and the horse comes, or whatever the animal is. But, and I understand Mr. Mann's sentiment, and that's important. And I think our schools do an excellent job, because I've worked in our schools. I've worked in an Asian Learning Center after school right here at the Jewish temple. And, I see firsthand, and I tried my best to educate those children and tell them how important their culture is. And I know our teachers do that daily, no matter where you work. When I worked in El Monte, I made sure that my kids, were embedded in their own, race and traditions, and embraced that. So I think sometimes, I sense that this is becoming, residents are thinking, well, it's an Asian event. It's an event, and I think if we look at that and say that we're reaching out to everybody to embrace all the cultures, we'll be at a better place as a community. So I think there's things that can be worked out, like the 300 parking spaces. I'm not at all for, that and some of the stipulations, but I think those are things that can be worked out. I think the toilets was an issue, the exclusive rights of the whole park. I mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly what does that mean. Does that mean like a family can't come in and, have a picnic there? I'm not really sure what that means. So I think that needs to be spelled out and more specific. Yes, we do support or partner with the Camellia Festival with monies. And I don't believe that the new request where Tsingtao is giving $10,000 is out of line. I think there is a little bit of hesitancy for me to say, okay, let's approve, what is it, $16,000, I believe. I don't think it's an out of line, and I think it's something that we can
I'm
work
sorry,
with.
you don't think what's out of line? Huh?
The $16,000 for the two-day event.
Split the costs.
Splitting it. I don't think it's out of line. I think that does show our commitment to, bring an event that people enjoyed. Yes, I do have a little bit of an issue, or a lot of an issue that, you are a for-profit company, but I think you do bring a lot to the community when you had the festival, and I think it helped just the community come together. So basically, those are my thoughts. I would be for the event with some stipulations, remove the, the 300 parking spaces, the exclusivity of the park area, and reducing the hours on Sunday from 12 to 7. And those are my thoughts.
Okay. Councilmember Viscara?
Few thoughts. First off, I would not be in support of a two-day event. I'd like to see a one-day event, but I wouldn't have any problem with it going longer. I think, based on what I heard after the last event, while obviously many people enjoyed it, including my own family, I had a lot of complaints too from a lot of people about access up here. So somebody's always going to complain about something. If you're in this job, you find that out. So we have to try and take care of the people that complain as well as the people that are getting what they want. Why liquor? I'm not sure we didn't have any liquor last time, did we?
No.
No.
And there'd be a vendor in or vendors in to sell the liquor?
Maybe I can answer that question. It's our understanding that as a for-profit company, they cannot get an off-site sale license. So they would have to profit just like the Chameleon Festival does with a nonprofit.
They partner with them.
They'd have to partner with somebody else because they couldn't qualify for a beer garden or whatever they want to do. They would have to partner with a nonprofit group in order to get the ABC license.
So a nonprofit in our city?
I don't,
Or just a
I don't know if that's a requirement or not. Brian, do you know if it's a city requirement? It has to be a nonprofit in the city or any
Well,
any? It doesn't have to be within
We can
Temple
make
City.
that our stipulation if we so choose to.
That it would be with someone in the city? And some of the sales would go to the nonprofit, the profits from the sales?
I don't know if that's a requirement.
Could I finish my thoughts? I thought this was my
I'm
minute.
sorry.
Thanks,
You're-
guys. Obviously, it's a hot issue and everybody wants to get in on it. No, I'm surprised about the liquor element and that for this particular celebration, we would even want liquor there. I find that odd. You don't have to speak to it. Let me speak. So I'm just throwing that out. Now, the parking lots, if you did have exclusivity to the parking lots, how would you know who was going to the festival and who was going to get a haircut? I don't understand how that would work. I mean, I don't even see that as possible. Go ahead.
From the staff review, we didn't look at that as an exclusive. We looked at simply they would be able to utilize them, and we would not do any enforcement activities in the lots because I think some of them have 2-hour time limits. So basically, it's first come, first serve, and they would be able to use those lots over the 2-day festival. They would not be exclusive to their organization or any visitors that wanted to attend the festival. They would just be available. And I don't think there's 300 out there. I mean, they might want to talk to the school district about an arrangement to use the school district property, but in terms of our lots, it would just be the ability to use them. Is that
Well, just the
correct,
way I
Mike?
read it sounded like.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't.
And I don't see how that could even be done.
It's not practical, you're right.
Okay. Okay. One of the big questions in my mind, where does the money go? Who's making all the money here? Well, somebody's making money. You're selling a product. Money's changing hands. Who's making the money?
They sell the booths, the booth spaces, which I'm sure.
Okay, and who gets the money?
Well, let's address the question. Yeah, you don't need to answer the question, I think.
Yes, you saw a lot of sponsors, but the money actually went into the festival. We do have the booth, the stage, the entertainment that we need to pay for. There are a lot of things that we need to pay for. The toilets, that there is a requirement from the health department that we have to go with the requirement by them. We need to rent all those equipment, the toilet, the washing sink. Everything is like money. So we got the money to use into the festival. Honestly, we don't profit from the festival. What we are going to do, our purpose is, doing some serving the community, doing some good service. We want to be out there. We are a Chinese but American newspaper. We don't want to just limit to just only Chinese. So we do a lot of community service. Actually, we serve a lot of different events. Just,
Okay, I'm just
serving.
talking about this event.
Right, so
Okay,
we put all the money into the events.
Last year, I think I remember you were charging $500 per booth, right? For the
no,
people
no.
that were sitting.
It's only like
That's the-
300.
wait, That's the number that was thrown out here.
On the rate card, always high, but we do early birds and discount to make sure they came in early. So they didn't pay $500, no. And then the money we really contribute back to the festival.
Well, you say we. Are you speaking for the vendors, or are you speaking for the newspaper?
Newspaper, of course, newspaper.
Okay, how about the vendors?
The vendors, they earn their money. Of course, why they want to be in the festival? Because they have the booth selling their products, and the money, of course, going to the vendor, just like,
Like
running
any
a business.
store or any restaurant or whatever?
Right. And we don't have any money. We don't get any commission or any money that they
And you
earn.
don't get a percent of
No,
whatever
no,
the
no.
vendors are
No, of course
selling?
not. No.
Okay. Interesting.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have other other issues?
Well, yeah, and this is a thorny issue, you know, I'm still thinking it through. This lady brought up concerts in the park. Well, we've been doing it for years. We do it for the residents. It's not a particular ethnic group that's being serviced. It's anybody that lives in the park. And I notice there's a lot of Chinese people here when we do the concerts in the park. Come on over tomorrow night, and you'll see that. So I don't know how that can be singled out as any particular thing. I have trouble with that. And the other thing, I'm wondering to what degree we're responsible as a city and as a city council for particular groups for us to sponsor. To what degree do we have to make ourselves available, and to what degree do we have to spend? Because as Mary so eloquently stated, there are a lot of other groups. And somebody said they haven't seen a Cinco de Mayo celebration here particularly, which could easily be done. We have about 30% Hispanic in the city, and then there's a lot of other groups. We have a lot of Indian people and everything else. So I understand, I enjoyed the festival. It's fine that you can organize it and do it. But there's got to be a line here someplace where city responsibility ends, and if folks want to do it, they kind of have to take it on themselves, I think. So going too long and putting out too much money is something I have a problem with, and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, Councilmember Yu.
I am in agreement with a lot of things that's been said, but I also like to contrast my comments in a few areas. I think let's not kid ourselves. Our city is changing. Our demographics have changed. The city has been 2010 has been 60% Asian. I think as a city council member myself, not because I'm an Asian American, is to ask myself, what have we done really for this new majority? And we've been struggling to engage them. We've been struggling to bring them along to become the mainstream. And I think that as a city council, as a city hall, as all residents, we need to look for ways that we can incorporate a new immigrant. A lot of them are immigrant residents. And while an event will cost money, we need to ask ourselves, you know, if it's $16,000, what does that really mean to us? Anything that we do is in thousands of dollars. Be that Camellia Festival, be that concert in the park, be that co-enforcement, anything that we do will cost money. There's no free events. And we need to ask ourselves, just like I proposed, you know, what are we going to do with the city in 20 years? The fact of the matter is that we do have an Asian majority in the city. The fact of the matter, a lot of them do not come to our events. Our event that we have held dearly for years and years and years. We cannot just say that, oh, the events are for all, why don't you come? I mean, we try that, and we try that. And that hasn't been successful. We have not been able to incorporate our Asian residents into our mainstream. Even though, in terms of population, the number of population, they are the mainstream. We cannot ignore that. I do agree with a lot of things that have been said about when, you know, there are other racial groups and other things, but I think an event like that, like Councilmember Sternquist was saying, actually will pull all the groups together. You know, I heard, and just like all of you have heard, at the events that was held earlier this year, there were a lot of good comments from everybody, not just from the Asian people who attended, but from the non-Asian. I think it's a time that we get together and truly understand each other. Maybe in the future, we don't need it, but honestly, I don't think as a small city, we have the know-how nor the ability to hold such an event that can truly bring everybody together. I mean, we're doing a very good job with Camellia Festival, but Camellia Festival is only one way, and that's one thing that we do well. I would venture to say an event like that could really help to integrate our residents. We cannot ignore the fact that our city has changed. And we've been trying so hard also to bring businesses into our city, to bring, to let people know about Temple City. There's so many things we're doing that we want to help our businesses. And, you know, we pay money into the chamber, and we try this, we try that. I mean, this is a great event to bring people outside the city into our city and really learn about what we have. I know some businesses may suffer, but yet there are a lot of businesses that thrive. There are some, I mean, I remember last year in the New Year event, I went to buy a cup of boba. They actually ran out of material. They said, well, we sold out a long time ago. We didn't realize you guys are so successful. You know, not from the vendor that came in, it's our own boba tea house. I think, you know, the city is big enough, is large enough, we're diverse enough that we need to look at not just business as usual, but look at new things that we might benefit everyone. Cost is a concern, but I can also tell you, based on my own knowledge, perhaps because I'm Asian American, I'm Chinese American, I know where Tsingtao's position in the Asian community. I mean, they're not like, we can't think of they're like that just because they're big. They must pay for everything. But yet at the same time, they're not like LA Times either. I mean, they in the Chinese community, Asian community, really hold a special place. It's a very, very respected organization, and they really do a lot of community work. I recently went to one of the events, free event for seniors that they held in Alhambra. There was no cost, there was nothing to be sold, and just cost, pure cost of the Tsingtao organization. But they did it anyway, it's a whole day event. So when they say that they're actually pouring all the profits back into the community, I believe it. And I would urge my council member to look beyond the $16,000, because the $16,000 may seem a large sum of money, but I think it's well worth it. It's time that we look at ourselves and ask, can we change the way we've been doing business and really consider the one fact that our city has really changed. So, but as far as other things, let me just also talk about the two-day event. There was a cost to bring the stuff in, set all the booths, set up the stage, and having an advantage of a two-day event, I think would be a good way to capitalize what we put in. I do agree, perhaps on Sunday, the churches and stuff, maybe it's not a good time to run it in the morning. It's an event that, because I've been talking to other city council members, perhaps Asian city council members in the San Gabriel Valley, they're all very envious of what we have done. Honestly, in a heartbeat, they would love to take Tsingtao away. And they were all saying to Vince, your city got the Lunar New Year. We're so envious of you guys. So I would urge all of you to look at it from a different light. It is not because it's for profit. It is not benefiting just Tsingtao. It is really a community event that we are not capable to host, and we need exactly the public-private partnership. And I think that an event like that is when we are all at our best. So I'm for it.
Okay, thank you. I too support this event. I've got a number of costs and concerns, and let me just address some of them very quickly. I think you talked about fireworks. To my understanding, there is no fireworks. We have a fireworks ordinance in here that says you can shoot fireworks on the 4th of July from noon to 10 p.m., and outside of that, there is none. So I'm not aware of that issue. The Sunday hours, I agree. I mean, there's two churches that are affected by this, so I think they need to, and I don't know what those, I'll leave it up to staff, but I think we need to make sure that we're not filling the parking lots and all the parking for the churches so that people can't get there. I know there's many elderly people that go to church. So that needs to be addressed. I'm concerned with the disruption to some businesses. And I don't know if the medical clinic is open across the street, across from Carl Jr.'s. If they're open on Saturday, the only parking they have is accessible from Las Tunas,
I don't think they are.
if they're not open.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, I'd like staff to look at that. I mean, are there some things like that, I mean, once we fill everything up, they're shut down. I mean, they literally go out of business. I'm assuming the city-sponsored farmer's market is affected, obviously. They need to, I'm guessing they just have to go away for that day. And, you know,
Why couldn't they do their thing if we do it on Sunday?
yeah,
Cohabitate.
well, I think that'd be a question for staff to look at. I'm not sure what that would be.
Just be a jerk.
I think we should split the costs on this. I don't think the city should be the stopper, that, you know, hey, I'll give you so much, and then you pick up the rest of the tab. I think we should split on that. And I think it should be called the Lunar New Year, not necessarily the Sing Tao if it's co-sponsored.
That's a very important point, yes.
If it's co-sponsored, it can be the Lunar New Year, co-sponsored by Sing Tao and the city of Temple City, and not, you know, just their event if it's a co-sponsored event. So as I said earlier, I think I'm willing to experiment with the two-day event. I guess the other thing, and it really, a question of whether we shift, they're going from Roland to Temple City Boulevard, you know, and there's a lot of businesses, you get down Temple City to Camellia, I mean, there's a lot of businesses in that stretch. When the Camellia Festival takes place, I mean, we shut down basically across the street from the park, so there's really not much interrupted as that street is shut down. This affects us quite a bit, so I don't know if you could shorten it, or if it can go further east. Anyhow, I think there's just a lot of businesses, and I know some of them told me last year, like, why did we open our doors? You know, we didn't make any money today. So I think we should look at whether that could happen, and even if it, you know, shortens up a little bit, not to affect as many as we have. So I think staff needs to look at that and come back to us with those items. I would say in general, I support it, but I still think there's some logistics that needs to get hammered out here. And with that, I'll entertain some type of a motion.
So, Mr. Mayor, hearing what you said, you are suggesting that we work out the details before we approve the event? Or would you be open to approving the event and allow the city manager and staff to work out the, you know, like the parking and some of the other issues? You know, because there are many other issues for them to solve. I think they still have yet to submit, for example, the traffic management plan and some of the other things, some of the other details. So I don't know if it's, I would suggest perhaps we consider approving it in concept, improving the, maybe splitting of a cost and improving the event as a two-day event, and allow staff and to work with them closely to resolve the concerns.
Okay, yeah, I would be inclined. I mean, I think a couple of key things that we can approve is, you know, the name of it. It should be the Lunar New Year, you know, not the Sing Tao Lunar New Year. We should split the costs. And then I think a lot of the other details could be left up to staff to work out.
Can I
And a
just,
two-day event.
with the time change?
And a two-day event looking at the adjustment on
Sunday
Sunday.
morning.
Right.
Carl, you mentioned splitting the cost, but this is just an estimate. So can that motion say not to exceed the $13,000? Or did you want to go to split the cost? Because we have an estimate, that doesn't mean that's what the amount is going to be.
Well, yeah, I'm concerned that this becomes open-ended. I mean, this was not included in our budget, so we're now dipping into, you know, the little bit of reserves that we had, so I'm not sure, how do we end up putting a cap on some of this stuff?
Well, there's two variations. One is split the cost regardless of what the amount is. I mean, I think we have a pretty good estimate. I think the only thing that would change it is if there was some unforeseen circumstance that, you know, a problem. I think, you know, last year, you know, and some of the other events we've done, I think these are good estimates, but I would just say if you want to split the costs, then both sides would have to share, and, you know, the upside or the downside. Maybe we can bring it in lower, maybe it'll come in higher, but if there's an agreement, both sides will split it 50-50, then there's equal risk.
And the other option was to put a cap.
Right.
Would-
But
would-
the problem with the, oh, and then they would pay any amount over our, yes, that's it, you're correct, that's the other option, is we say 50-50, but our cap will be X amount, and then they would have to pay any cost above that, 100% of your cost above that.
Yes.
Okay, if that's the case, I guess I would propose a 20,000 cap on our side.
Okay.
Okay?
And it was 16, right? Or 13?
Well, it was 16, but there were some other things in here that still weren't pinned down yet.
Was it 26 from general fund?
So, you know, that puts it at
13.
40. This was 26. That basically lets it go up to 40.
But they were
They were going to give us
contributing
10,000, so they're going to
so-
contribute more.
Right.
So if it was 26, it would be 13 each.
13.
Right.
So do you want to put the city's cap at 20 or some other
Well,
number?
I'm suggesting if we put it at 20, then if the costs go up to 40, then, you know, that's where we say we're only going up to 20 on our side of it.
And then they would put in the other 20.
Well, they'd be 50-50 up to 20, and then above that, it would be their costs.
Well, I don't think you'd have 50-50, right? You would just have, we would pay up to 20,000.
It's 50-50 up to
20.
Up to 20.
up to 40,000.
Up to 40. So our maximum exposure would be 20,000, and that,
Right.
so for us to reach the 20,000, it would have to be a $40,000
Right.
event,
Right.
which right now we're estimated to be a
It's
26.
so
So
it
that
gives
still
some
allows
leeway.
for 14,000 of, it's a
Right.
pretty big contingency, which I would not expect we would come close to reaching, because we think we've done a pretty good estimate. But yeah, we could structure with a cap in some fashion.
What do you recommend is better?
Well, I think if you're willing to, say, split at the 16,000 estimate, or pardon me, the 26 as 13, then, you know, maybe a cap a little bit smaller, maybe
15?
15 or 16, which was the original amount that we would have contributed. So,
Okay, I'm
Does it
comfortable
make
with
sense?
that.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
So in your
So
motion,
60. In my motion. It's got to be in my motion?
yeah, or the combined motion but
Okay.
that you're articulating here.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve hosting and co-sponsoring the 2015 Lunar New Year Street Festival with the following conditions. That it is named the 2015 Lunar New Year Street Festival. And we will be splitting the cost with St. Tao up to a maximum of $16,000 city cost. And we will also approve the two-day event with adjustments of the Sunday hours to from 12 to 7, basically to avoid the morning hours to allow the churches to meet. And also for the city staff to work with St. Tao to resolve traffic, parking, and other issues.
Okay,
Mr. City Attorney, is that good enough as a motion, or does that need to be, maybe you need a help?
No, I think that, Councilmember, I think that motion's fine. Your last part about staff resolving other issues, I think would of course include staff's recommendation that there are some contingencies that have to be met on the application.
Right.
With that understanding, I think your motion's just right.
Okay?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Do we need a roll call? Let's do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Sternquist?
Yes.
Councilmember Viscara?
No.
Councilmember Yu?
Yes.
Mayor Bloom?
Yes. Okay, this item has been passed. We will now take a 10-minute break.
Yes.
These are tough ones.
They did, but the farmer's market, they don't want to adjust their hours too short, but if they could make it an hour shorter, because they need time to clean up and pack out, because I think they're normally gone by 1. Are they gone by 1, or they close at 1? So maybe she'll be happy because then they can still open and close by, this is a no-win situation. I mean, I think if we're smart, the city can take advantage of our city council. I see it as a precaution. Hey, well, hang on 1 second, I want to talk to you.
Sorry about that. Got a little, hurt a little bit.
has a piece of work. Who? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Lame duck.
Okay, let's reconvene the meeting.
This is mine. No.
Okay, we're going to move to item
I finished my
Item
long time.
10, which is new business. Item 10A is the approval of an annual consultant service agreement with the Temple City Chamber of Commerce. Would you have staff presentation, please?
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, as you know, the city has been providing financial support to the Chamber of Commerce for many years. And at least since 2011, the city has instituted a sole source consulting agreement with the Chamber for certain business promotion and public information services, which has provided the basis for the annual funding of approximately $70,000. For the fiscal year 2013-14 contract, the city manager was directed to work with the Chamber's executive director to develop an amended scope of services that aligns the Chamber's 5-year strategic plan with the city's economic development strategy. The Chamber did complete and submitted to the city their 5-year strategic plan to the city in December of 2013. On January 21st of 2014, the City Council directed staff to circulate a request for proposal for the solicitation of consultant services for economic development services, which was also to include the Chamber of Commerce in the solicitation. The idea was to present the proposals to the council in the spring with then a recommendation that the council could then incorporate any dollars into the fiscal year 14-15 budget. However, due to the departure of the city manager and the workload, the RFP was not distributed. It should also be noted that the Chamber had provided feedback shortly after that time that they were not sure that they actually had the capacity, meaning staff resources or the technical expertise to take on a specific economic development initiative as contemplated by the RFP. So at this point, that project is sort of on hold pending further direction. So I think we had somewhat of a disconnect in the sense that we weren't able to distribute the RFP, but at the same time, I don't think the Chamber, based on their existing resources, probably were in a position to respond. In any case, however, due to those factors, staff worked on and submitted for your consideration a contract for 2014-15, which in most respects follows the contract for the past year. Provides for a work program that's very, very similar with a couple of exceptions. It provides for publishing Temple City Life, promoting good business relations with Temple City, participating in or holding events for local businesses, training, communicating legislative updates to the city and the business community, engage in regional discussions on issues important to the businesses and the cities. I think we also want to also include in the work program that they assist with the outreach to the business community with the Las Tunas project, as well as the general plan update. Those are two specific things that we would like to include. So we have before you a work program that essentially mirrors the previous year with a $70,000 proposed contract. And we are recommending approval of that. However, I think as a subsequent step, I think the council needs to look at and provide some direction either to staff or have a discussion among yourselves as what direction you would like to see the contract move in terms of a different scope of services, an expanded scope of services, an evaluation of the effectiveness of the contract. Are there other things that you would like to see the chamber do? I think those are all things that should be discussed. I would say, just from my experience, the contract with the chamber is a fairly typical one, quite frankly, in terms of the kinds of services that cities pay for and get in return. Having community events, working closely with the businesses, making the businesses aware of things that are happening both locally and regionally that affect them. Having training and seminars and workshops to educate businesses on legislation, workers' comp, things of that sort. So, from my experience, this is a fairly typical contract. I would say, though, that it seems to represent a fairly significant amount of their budget, though, at $70,000. It's, from what I could tell, looking at their budget, it's somewhere around, seems to be around 40 to 45% of their total budget from the number I've seen. So it's almost half of their budget. That does not include the space that we offer to them at no cost. So our recommendation is that you approve the consultant services agreement with the chamber for 2014-15, authorize the city manager to finalize and execute the contract, but also initiate a discussion, perhaps first among yourselves in a study session format or with the chamber, either through an ad hoc or joint meeting, to really talk about the direction you might want to see, if there is a different direction that the city would like to take with the chamber in terms of the services they provide and the funding the city provides for those services. So that concludes my remarks, and I'll be happy to respond to any questions.
Okay, council members have any questions for city manager?
If we approve this agreement, I know that we have, we've got a joint meeting planned with them, or we were discussing having a joint meeting
Right.
with them. And you just indicated that perhaps one of the goals of that joint meeting would be to discuss the direction or the task perhaps that we would want the chamber to assist the city with, or perhaps even look at some of the tasks they now provide and maybe changing those. My question, though, I guess, is from a legal standpoint, and maybe this is more for the city attorney. Is there something in the agreement that gives us that flexibility to change those things down the road? I suppose my own answer to that would be if both parties agree, then sure, there's no problem. But once we come to an agreement, if they decide, well, we don't want to do that, then we're kind of stuck with that, aren't we?
Yes, parties can mutually change the scope of work, but I don't see anything in the city that allows us to unilaterally change the agreement. Now, we can certainly terminate the agreement if we're that unhappy with it, with a certain period of notice, 30 days written notice, but we wouldn't be able to just unilaterally say, we don't like how task 2 reads, we're going to change
Well,
it to
and the reason I bring that up is maybe, and I don't know what the timing is, is this something that has to be done now, or can it wait until after we have that meeting to further define the roles of each of the parties and the direction and the type of service that we're going to be getting from the chamber for the money we're paying?
My only concern is we're in the fiscal year, and we're paying them, what, $5,800 a month, and we don't have a contract with them.
Okay, so we're already paying them money without a contract.
Right.
Okay, well, that changes the dynamics a little bit.
I guess one option, though, we could extend the agreement month to month until we, if we want to address it differently.
The previous agreement?
I guess, yeah. Well, this is basically the dollar amount's the same as last year, so I'm assuming we could do that. I mean, all that is shortening the duration or spelling out the duration. Okay, I just throw that out as an option. Okay, any other questions for the city manager on this one? Okay, I have a couple of people that wish to speak on this. Rita Padilla, who's the director, or the chairman of the board of directors for the chamber. Welcome, Rita.
Thank you, Mayor Bloom and council members. We really appreciate your support in the past, and we certainly hope that we'll have your support again. We look forward to working to continue working with you and supporting our businesses and encouraging new business here in Temple City. And I'd like to announce to everyone and those who are not aware, but most people I think are aware, that we are celebrating our 90th anniversary this year here in Temple City. And to celebrate, we're holding a casino night with the theme as the Gatsby. And it's going to be held the 16th of August at the Elks Club here in San Gabriel, just a block beyond us. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We put a lot of work into it. We've been working on it for quite some time. We're going to have a professional casino company come in and set up the tables and provide dealers. We're going to have lots of wonderful food in the form of heavy hors d'oeuvres. We're going to have music provided by Tom McEnany. And we're going to have also, there's going to be a full bar, cash bar. It's the Elks Club bar, not us, but that made it real convenient. And we have a wonderful selection of raffle gifts. And just as a hint, we have a 42-inch flat screen TV that we'll be raffling off.
It's mine.
Fernando will probably win it since he always wins the TVs.
So anyway, on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, we thank you very much for your support, and we would love to have your continued support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rita. The other request to speak is Jerry Jambazian.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Jerry Jambazian. I appreciate the comments of Rita, but as the chairman of the board, I guess I expected something more up here rather than just talking about the Gatsby night and the 90-year celebration. I'd like to hear about how we're going to get new businesses here in Temple City. I'd like to find out how many new members we're going to be getting as chamber members, how we're going to be better supporting the city. As I look at the makeup of the chamber board, I don't see anybody here from the chamber other than Rita. I don't see the president, Mr. Peter Choi, and I don't see any other board members that are here tonight. Helen, I'm sorry. I know that they've listed one board member that has not been to a meeting, I think, in 2 years. So I just don't know. It seems like I'm encouraged by the comments tonight, especially of Mayor Bloom, of possibly going month to month. But it seems like we're just kicking the can down the road again. And we've been working off of this, I guess, consultants agreement for 2 years now. And has the matrix been met? Have they met their goals? Have they provided everything that you could do? It's the same old stuff that's in the staff report here of doing the newspaper, promoting good business relations, communicate legislative updates. It's the same old stuff for $70,000. And to me, it seems like the $70,000 plus the advantage of having a rent-free building, not rent-free, $1 a month. So that's about a $30,000 benefit, plus the $70,000. The city could be doing a whole lot of good with that kind of money promoting business here in Temple City. It just seems like there's no accountability. I don't see the president there on a regular basis. I look for his car, I don't see it. I don't know where he's at, but a lot of times, even on Mondays, the offices are closed. There's nobody there. So I'm just wondering, is there accountability on the part of the chamber? And it just seems like we're saying nice things. You get up here, give a report every 3 months, but it's the same old stuff, and it's like a slick used car salesman report. So You know, I was chamber president 39 years ago. I love this city, but I don't see where the chamber is giving you the bang for the buck. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Does anyone else care to speak on this issue? Okay, if not, I will close public comments. Okay, council comments. Mayor Sternquist, since you're the liaison to the chamber,
Mayor?
I mean,
Did you have anything?
Again?
former mayor, councilwoman.
Well, as I mentioned at the last time we discussed the chamber, I think it's important for the council and the chamber board to come together to have a joint meeting. I think there are some foundational issues that need to be worked out. I think there is some feeling amongst the chamber board members, the executive board members, that they still might not be too sure about what their role is. I could be a little off base, but I don't think so. I think, Rita, you were there at the last meeting, and Peter Choi, the president, did say, you know, there is some requirement in the work plan about economic development. He said, I'm not really sure that's the chamber's role. That seems to be more of a city role. So I think, I mean, that's a pretty big difference there if they're thinking that that's their role, yet they're not inclined to do it. And what are our expectations? I honestly don't know as a council member what the expectations are from the city's end as what we want them to do. I did go over the work plan, read the questions and their responses. And I think that's at least a starting point, because I had a couple questions myself when one of the, you know, here's the task and here's the responses, how it was met. And I thought, that response seems a little bit too general. Personally, I'd like an answer that was more specific to the task. So I think those are the things that can be worked out at a joint meeting with the executive board so that we're all on the same page. So, I mean, I think that would be the point where I think we need to at least start the conversation so that we hear it, they hear it, and we hash that out.
Okay. Councilmember Viscara.
No comments.
Councilmember Yu.
I think we need to support the chamber. However, I am also share a lot of the concerns that we're getting a lot of the very general answers, and I haven't been able to see any kind of specific businesses that the chamber had actually helped us recruit. If going to month will help us push the issues, I'm for it.
Mayor Pro Tem.
First of all, I think I want to thank Rita for coming here tonight. Thank you for coming. I am disappointed, however, that Peter's not here. I think as basically the hired man at that position, it was important for him to be here tonight, especially with such an important task at hand. Jerry, I appreciate your comments, and I agree with many of them. However, I'm not really ready to give up on the chamber. I do agree that there's been a disconnect between the chamber and the city council that has developed, or the city, over the past few months, if not longer. In looking at the different tasks that are enumerated in the contract that's before us, I don't know if those are realistic or not. I get the sense that from the comments of our city manager that maybe they are, maybe they're not. They're basically a rehash of what we've been going with since last year. And so I, for one, if we are going to sit down with the chamber board, I think that would be a good time to discuss these tasks, to determine what is realistic and what isn't. I think that's for the benefit of both bodies. And it will help define the future of the chamber as they work with us in our future. Because I think they're helpful. I think, and we need them. I don't want to say that, you know, the chamber is not doing any good for the city, because I think they are, but I'm not blaming it completely on them either. So maybe they do need some more direction from the city. So be it as it may, I think going to a month-to-month at this point, since the contract is essentially the same as last year, going to a month-to-month until we can work out the details, whether it be through an ad hoc or through a joint meeting, I don't really think would change things too much, especially if we can get that done within the next 2 to 3 months. So that's kind of the direction I would be leading in.
Okay, thank you. Having been the liaison to the chamber for a number of years here, I think the key issue really has to do with economic development. You know, I think the city was looking for them to do extensive economic development for us. I don't think they have the wherewithal. They have a part-time executive director. They have basically a person manning the phones and answering stuff, people that walk in. The board is made up of people that have full-time jobs, and so, I mean, it's not in their capability to do this. So I think the discussion that we need to have with them is, okay, what are the roles realistically that we can play here? I mean, you know, what should the city be doing? I think we need to look ourselves at, from an economic development standpoint, I mean, is that really something that we should be taking on ourselves? I mean, we've talked about hiring an economic consultant. You know, we've got some staff that's titled to be doing this stuff, so I think we need to look at that. I guess I would suggest, well, the question, there's two questions in my mind. One is whether we should have an ad hoc meeting with the board, the chamber board, or whether we really should just have a full joint meeting with the board to have an understanding of, you know, where we're going with this. And I guess I'm more inclined to go with the full joint meeting so that we all have an opportunity to participate.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I think, not that I disagree with the purpose of ad hocs, but at this point, I think that would just extend matters, and I think it's time just to get to the whole matter. Let's all just meet, that way we all can discuss it at the same time.
Okay, and I guess I would, maybe, you know, if we put a 3-month extension, approve a 3-month extension, you know, I think that's probably going to give us enough time. I don't know. I mean, we could do a month-to-month, but I think give 3 months, I mean, that gives the chamber, I mean, they know they've got revenue coming in for 3 months until we address these issues. And,
Mayor, could I address the issue of month-to-month?
Sure.
The contract before you, even though it is phrased over the term of the year, is freely terminable by the city on 30 days' notice. So entering into a month-to-month term that just automatically renews would essentially be the same as what you had before you. In a month-to-month agreement, you have to give 30 days' notice to terminate. That's the same thing you have here. You have 30 days' notice to terminate. And you can terminate without any cause at all, and they immediately have to cease their operation. So what you have in front of you is, in essence, a month-to-month agreement. It has a not-to-exceed amount on the compensation that provides for the services. So if what you're wanting to do is reassess this, you can approve this agreement tonight. It will just be paid month to month. And if the city decides that it needs to change this or pull out of it, we'll give 30 days notice, and then you're out of the agreement. Whatever point in the term you think is necessary.
Yeah.
So I don't want you to be confused about how the agreement is structured. I think it provides you the freedom to do whatever you want to if you approve this. When you remember, all you got to do is give 30 days notice, and you're out.
so therefore, after we have a joint meeting, we could say, okay, let's repackage this thing and, you know,
Absolutely.
we'll bring a different one back for
Correct.
approval.
Well,
Okay.
well, yes and no. If after we have our joint meeting, because I don't think the issue is so much necessarily the length of the contract or even the amount, but from what it's more the scope of the services, and from what I've heard from the staff reporting tonight, you know, those may not be, either the chamber cannot provide many of those things, or maybe we need them to do other things. And so if we approve this agreement tonight with the Exhibit A scope of services, okay,
But the Exhibit A scope of services are, and I think most of you will probably agree, if you've served on a chamber board, these are standard chamber operating functions. You're in essence just subsidizing the standard operation of the chamber. There isn't any business development in this scope of work. There isn't any economic development in the municipal sense of going out and doing forecasting surveys and targeting businesses or paying for improvements to public infrastructure that will help attract businesses. This is the standard fare of what chambers across California do. This is creating a business network within your city for both social reasons, information dissemination, legislation, and celebrating and encouraging a business network.
well, I don't know that I would totally agree with that assessment. I think some of these tasks are a little bit more specific than that. And whether we want them to continue doing that or not, and I know what you're saying, I just don't know if, I just don't want to tie our hands to something and just say, okay, I mean, are we putting the cart before the horse here? I mean, what you're saying is that, all right, let me back up. How long have we been on a month-to-month with these people?
In essence, starting July 1st.
Okay, so 1 month.
Right.
All right. So that's not very long. Okay, so you would prefer not to go to month, but simply sign the agreement and then knowing that we can cancel it with 30 days' notice. So essentially, it's the same thing.
I think that calling what you're on a month-to-month is incorrect.
Okay.
Your agreement has expired.
All right.
The city has, of its own volition, decided to just pay for services without an agreement. I suggest to you that you need to have an agreement.
Even if it's not a good agreement.
What you have is this.
Okay. But
Right
what if we
now.
don't want this?
Then you can terminate it.
Okay.
If you don't approve this tonight, then you should not continue just paying them without an agreement. This vehicle allows you to pay within a structure that has some defined obligations. You might disagree with them, but when you come back and have your joint meeting or ad hoc meeting with the chamber board, if you're dissatisfied with the scope of services, it is within the council's authority to just terminate the agreement in whole. If the chamber board isn't willing to agree to the council's view of what services it should be providing for the city. And I think you're in a better platform to do that if you approve this, rather than continuing to pay without an agreement.
Do you know offhand where the clause is, the 30-day? Oh, I see it. Section 20. Okay, so city may terminate, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
They
Section
can
20.
terminate also.
Yes, it can. That's why I say you are truly in a month-to-month agreement, even though you're, has a maximum term of a year.
Okay, you finished?
Okay. Yeah.
Fernando?
Yeah, I just decided I did want to make a couple of comments. Just thinking out loud, one of the things I noticed in the past couple of years, although I haven't been to that many board functions, is that the attendance and the quality of the attendees at various functions, from my observation, was that it had increased, that it was better than it was in the past. And I'm not exactly sure what that means, because that leads into my second comment, which is I wonder about having a meeting with them, because do we really know what a chamber is supposed to do? I'm not exactly sure that I would want to provide any kind of direction, because I'm not an expert. I'm not sure how a chamber goes about bringing in new business or more business or whatever. I don't know how that happens. So are we going to accomplish anything by the 5 of us meeting with their board? I'm throwing that out there kind of as a food for thought or a question.
Well, to answer your question, I think it is still a good idea. We commonly make decisions based on things that we're not experts on, but we get enough information to make an intelligent, informed decision, and I don't know why we can't do that in this regard as well.
Well, here we have a lot of staff helping us. Who's going to help us when it comes to the chamber?
Somebody will,
Yeah. Well,
our city manager.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Whoever he may be.
seems to me that we're not looking at, terminating this. It looks like
No,
let's get to a point where we get some understanding. To me, I mean, every year this comes up, there's some questions like, are we getting, are we paying too much? I mean, we've heard that, I think, every time it comes up. So I think we need to sit down and have a clear understanding. I think we've tried to impose some things on them and saying, hey, we're giving you money, we want this. And then there's the question, I mean, what's the role of a chamber, and, how do we make that work? So I guess what I'd like to do is since Councilwoman Sternquist is our liaison, if you could work with Rita and Peter and come back with an agenda or a draft agenda and see if we can set up a joint meeting to proceed with this. Okay, any other comments or questions?
Mr. Mayor, may I just make one quick comment?
Sure.
I need to clarify, just because of the comments made. Peter did send an email, say that he had a conflict in his schedule, but because we didn't have a contract, I wanted to get this on the agenda, so it wasn't my intent to schedule it when he wasn't here, but I believe he's out of town at a chamber regional function, so just for the record, he did not come by choice, he had this conflict.
Not to put you on the spot, well, shouldn't this have come to us a few months ago? So that we could have maybe a bit ahead of the game and addressed some of these questions?
Yeah.
And I know you weren't here at the time.
Well,
but I'm
I've been
just
here
saying.
since March, so
Well-
you could put me on the spot.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's like the contract's over, now we've got to do something.
Right, yeah.
If it had come to us like maybe 2 or 3 months ago, we could have been doing what we're doing now and said, okay, let's get this meeting done. Let's get all the parties together. Let's figure out what the tasks are, and then we're ready to sign a contract. So
Well,
now-
yeah, I agree, and so I was late getting it. I think one of the things I was trying to sort through was this direction the council provided back in January
Yeah.
for staff to do an RFP for economic development consultant services and make sure the chamber gets an opportunity to respond. So as I sorted through that and saw some of the chamber's reports and things, and their statement is they don't really feel like they even they don't have the capacity to do that with basically a 30-hour week, CEO and a 30-hour week, assistant, and to go on and run a business visitation program and all these things. So in any case, we never got it out, so for the reasons I previously stated. So I do think there really is a disconnect there. An RFP that went out that the chamber probably had no capacity to really respond to, and if we hired another economic firm, then does that mean we would take the $70,000 that we give the chamber, give it to the economic firm, the chamber would get nothing? So, yeah, we were late trying to sort through that. I think one of the comments that struck me the most, and this is why I think the joint meeting is really important, and I think it was the chamber's strategic plan. It says, the chamber has indicated that their primary mission is to promote the local business community, and their strategic plan reflects as a priority, and presumably this is one of the primary reasons their members join the chamber. People join the chamber because they want to benefit from the chamber's, involvement and knowledge of regional issues and legislation and what's going on in the city, and keep them aware. And if they can go to the chamber, have problems. Most of the cities that I'm familiar with and work for, the chambers never did take the lead role in economic development.
Yeah.
Cities rarely want to relinquish that role for a lot of reasons, which we're probably aware of. So I think that does get back to what's the chamber see as their prime function and role? What does the city see that as their prime role? And try to, see if we can mesh those, that there's value in the public dollars that are being provided, that the chamber serves a role that benefits the community and the business community.
Hey, and just a real quick comment, just to follow up on what you said, and you made a good point, and that is about the fact that, well, what do we know what chambers are supposed to do? But perhaps if we look at it from the standpoint that, well, we know what we want perhaps as a city, and what we want perhaps what role we want them to fulfill, and then the feedback we get from them is what can they deliver and what they can't. And I think maybe that might be the driving force behind that joint meeting, and get something out of that. Based on the city attorney's comments, I would change my earlier comments and agree that, to go ahead and approve this agreement for now, given the termination language that's in there, and then follow that up with getting that joint meeting, and hopefully we can come to a better understanding of the roles, and then at that time get a really good working agreement. I think both entities, that should be the goal of both entities, I think.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move the recommendations that we approve a consultant services agreement with the Temple City Chamber of Commerce for economic development services in an amount not to exceed $70,000 paid in 12 monthly installments of $5, $8, $3, and 33 cents for fiscal year 14 and 15, and to authorize the interim city manager to finalize and execute the consultant services agreement with Temple City Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, do I have a second?
And then, no, and then should we have something in the motion regarding that?
Setting up a joint
Setting up a
meeting.
joint meeting?
And set up a joint meeting within the next 3 months
Chamber Board.
with the Chamber Board.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is anyone opposed? The issue has been approved unanimously. We go to item 11 on the calendar, on the agenda. It's communication. There is none. Item 12, update from the city manager.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, a few brief items. National Night Out is tomorrow night. Unite Against Crime with Temple City's Public Safety Team at tomorrow's National Night Out at Temple City Park. The fun begins at 6 p.m. with food, crafts, and exciting displays of law enforcement gadgets and gear. And there'll be live music follows at 7 p.m. with The Answer, playing classic rock tunes from the Beatles to Tom Jones. On August 13th, there's a neighborhood watch meeting. The city will host a neighborhood watch meeting at Golden West Baptist Church for those living in the neighborhoods bound by Olive Street, Baldwin Avenue, Lower Azusa Road, and Temple City Boulevard. Attendees will learn about neighborhood crime trends, how to work together to prevent crime, and how to recognize and report suspicious activity. The meeting starts at 5:30 p.m. And a couple quick commissioner items. The Parks and Recreation Commission met last week to prioritize phases for potential biking and walking trails, which will be included as part of a $240,000 grant application to Supervisor Mike Antonovich. More information will be provided and presented at the next City Council meeting. And tomorrow night, the Public Arts Commission will review design concepts for a planned public art sculpture at Linden Walk subdivision. The advisory body will also discuss options regarding development of an art mural program. Those wanting more information on commission actions can download meeting agendas, minutes, and staff reports from the city's website at www.templecity.us. And that concludes my comments.
Okay, thank you. We move to item 13, council reports regarding ad hoc or standing committee meetings. Anyone have any? Yeah, we met with the Rosemead Committee, still wrapping up issues. We've scheduled another meeting, I think, mid-August to keep wrapping up the loose ends on that. We met with, Tom, you want to talk about the strategic plan?
No, I'll let you do it.
Okay. We met the strategic plan implementation standing committee. It met after sort of a hiatus of several months here to start wrapping things up. So we will be meeting again, I think, in 2 weeks, following up on that. And does anybody else have any? Okay, if not, we move to item 14 on the agenda, council item separate from the city manager's regular agenda. Councilmember Sternquist.
Just a couple of things. I want to thank our city manager and staff for jumping on the Water Smart Challenge. I brought that 2 weeks ago and was surprised that we already were doing it. So thank you very much for that. And just wanted to share quickly, I have seeing on almost every street I drive, a new single-family dwelling going up in our city. So I was just curious, Michael, how many new houses do we have, single-family, going up?
Not that many, actually.
I mean, in one
with that
small
number,
section,
I
there
know.
must be at least 7 north of Las Tunas.
I don't know the number off the top of my head, but we do have quite a few around the city. But most of them are, I mean, they're on existing lots. They're not new units. They're replacements of previous homes.
But
I-
they seem to be single-family dwellings that
Yes.
are going up.
Yes.
Quite large.
Yes, they're, well, it depends on your definition of large.
Oh, about over 2,400 square feet, I would imagine.
Yes, the most of them that we're seeing are in the neighborhood of 3,000 to 3,500 square feet.
That's pretty big for Temple City.
Yeah, under our zoning, the largest size that we allow actually is 3,500 square feet, and then with certain, if you incorporate certain design elements into the design, you can get bonuses that can get you up to 4,000 square feet. But we see very few of those. Most of them are in the 3,000 to 3,500, and some of them are even under 3,000.
Well, I mean, it's not a bad thing. I just think it's, before I was seeing a lot of multiple dwelling homes being built in the area, and now it seems that there's a lot of single-family homes being built, so. And that's it.
Okay. Councilmember Viscara.
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Yu.
Nothing yet.
Co-
Positive.
Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem
I'll take this
Chavez.
You'll think of something when I'm done, yeah. You know, when you brought up the point about the art commission, that just brought to my mind, what is the status of those mosaics on Rosemead Boulevard? You know, we have those stanchions that are set up. Are those coming
There's-
soon? Or I
yeah,
haven't heard
they're-
anything on that recently.
There's
And
still-
Brian, I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but just if, or is that's still in the works, obviously?
Right.
Yes, it is, Mayor Pro Tem. As you recall, there are 5 mosaics being constructed. They just finished the second mosaic, and we can send pictures out. We just got the photos back. But everything is due to be done by December of this year. So we'll have, hopefully, installation, everything done no later than the mid of January. But we're on task right now.
Good. Thank you very much. And then one last thing, I just wanted to let everyone know that Councilmember Sternquist and I attended the 90th anniversary celebration of the San Gabriel Valley Humane Society this past Saturday. It was a nice event despite the weather. It started off as very humid and hot and ended up raining. But it was held here locally at our companion community animal hospital on Rosemead Boulevard. So, you know, good job by them to host that. So it was a nice event, and as you know, they bring, we had our Pet of the Month, and they continue to do good work. And I was surprised to know that they've been around 90 years, but a good group of people that are involved in that, and it was a nice event. So that's it.
Okay, the only thing I have, I'd like to commend the people who put the Relay for Life event on. I think they've raised over 56,000 or something like that. It was a hot day, and
2 days.
yeah, hot 2 days.
And night.
Yeah, yeah. So anyhow, my compliments to the, and I know, I think Kim and Jolene were the two main organizers, but I know there's a big group behind it making it happen, plus all the people have donated money and walks, so thank you very much, all of you. Okay, item 15, reimbursement of expenses to city officials for conduct of city business and for city payment of conference expenditures. There is none. Item 16, we recess to successor agency, the Temple City Community Redevelopment Agency meeting. I'd like to call that meeting to order. Could I have the roll call, please?
Agency Member Sternquist.
Present?
Agency Member Viscara.
Here.
Agency Member Yu.
Here.
Vice Chair Chavez.
Here.
Chairman Bloom.
Here. Item 3 is the consent calendar. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Consent calendar has been approved unanimously. Unfinished business, there is none. Item 5, new business, there is none. Communication 6, none. Public comments, anybody have a comment this time? Okay, we will close public comments, hearing none. No requests. Number 8, update from the executive director and agency council, there is none. Matters from agency members, none. Closed session, there is none. We are adjourned and we reconvene back as the full council.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I owe you a quick apology, but I forgot one announcement.
Okay.
Just for the public's sake, the street sweeping, weekly street sweeping schedule started yesterday. So the
Okay.
public needs to be reminded that enforcement will take place, citations will be issued. We issued courtesy notices during July, but the program actually, weekly sweeping had started yesterday, and they will be cited if they're in violation of that, so.
Okay.
Let me ask you a quick question about that. I know the signs say that you cannot park there from 10 to 3. But we were also told that once the street sweepers go by, then even though you're still within that time, you can park there without getting a ticket, correct?
That's correct.
Now, do we know if they will be keeping a regular schedule? Like, for example, if they come by my neighborhood on Tuesday at 11 o'clock, would that be basically Tuesday at 11 o'clock every week, or are they going to change? And, I mean, do we even know that, or is there a way to find that out, perhaps?
I don't know, and Michael, I don't know if you know, my experience has been they usually try to keep a regular schedule
Yeah.
because they work out a route that works based on the time frame they need.
I would think so.
Right. The only thing that, certain times of the year, heavier leaf season, things that can vary a little bit if
Yeah.
there's a mechanical issue. Usually people can tell by the markings in the street if the sweeper's gone by.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
our policy is not to issue citations after the sweeper's gone by, even if it's still posted hours.
Right.
So, if that occurs, we want to hear from people on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Item 17, actions taken by city and successor agency. Other than the approval of the consent calendar, there was none. Item 18, additional public comments on items not listed on the agenda. Anybody care to speak on this? Okay, hearing no requests for additional public comments, I will close public comments. Closed session, item 19. We have 4 items on here. I'm not sure how many we're going to have.
Probably 2.
Probably 2. Okay, we are recessed into closed session, and don't hold your breath on how long we'll be, so. Janice is waving good night, so.
I can't get back. Said I had a fig this morning.
On the agenda here, but could we have a report out from our city attorney, please?
I'd be happy to, Mayor. City Council met in closed session with regard to items 19A through D. With regard to item A, there was no discussion. They received a brief update just as to status of the negotiations. There was no other reportable action. Item B was a labor negotiation item with unrepresented employees. That item was not held. There was no need for that item at this point. With regard to item C, public employee appointment, there was a brief discussion of status of the process among the council members. There was no other reportable action. With regard to item D, they received an update on a matter of potential liability from the city attorney and the city manager. There's no reportable action on that item either. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are adjourned.
Peggy, are these to be left here or taken? Just leave it. Okay.